just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. And that is right, on the 22nd of this month, something is coming. Put your shekels aside. And that's something you may have seen me wearing currently, but also on other shows as well. So the 22nd of this month, we got a drop coming. It's super, super fun drop. We've never done, obviously we've done hoodies before, so obviously you're going to get these hoodies will be dropping. So anyone that missed out on the other hoodies, these hoodies will be dropping. We've never done these colors before, but also the spray jacket will be dropping on the 22nd. It's very limited numbers, guys. It's very limited numbers because we weren't sure how they'd go because it's such a unique item to drop. Also, for the people that missed out on the green and gold hats, they are back as well on the 22nd. So the 22nd of this month, we got the hats, we got the hoodies here, and we've also got, to top it all off, the shirts as well, green and gold shirts. So make sure to be ready for the 22nd of this month because something else is coming up later this month as well, the Olympics. So get around your country. Get around your country. I got the big fella here. How you going, Root?
Going good, mate. I cannot wait to get my paws on a spray jacket. They look unreal.
I know. Like, I wasn't sure how they would go, so I didn't order a bunch of numbers, but the feedback has been crazy. And also with these hoodies, we didn't order a lot because I was just like, will they like the green and gold? I'm not sure whether they like the green and gold, so we'll see how we go.
Well, the hats went in unbelievable time last time, didn't they?
Yeah, that's why we restocked the hats. Yeah, they were gone in a second. So if you want one, guys, obviously 6 p.m. Monday, the 22nd, set your alarms. You're going to have to be there right at 6 o'clock and know what you're going to get just to get in and get out as quickly as possible.
Good time, the Olympics. Cracking for you.
Absolutely. I cannot wait. Get around your country. I mean, have a look at it. Wear a nice bloody hoodie that's supporting your country. Timmy, how you going, brother?
Good, mate. Had a cracking weekend. Good weekend of rugby league action. Still buzzing from that Panthers Cowboys blockbuster yesterday, Arvo. So, yeah, if I'm a bit too excited today, apologies, mate. Okay,
yeah, you are buzzing. You are absolutely buzzing. First of all, shout out to Michael Hooper. He has announced his retirement from Australian rugby. He's a guy that I wish played rugby league. Yep. I really wish we could have seen him in the league arena. He's also a guy, the way he was treated in that last World Cup, outrageous. So Hooper's retired. He's the most capped Wallaby He's the most capped Wallaby captain of all time. He's the fastest and youngest Wallaby to reach 100 caps, 125 international caps, 172 Super Rugby caps, 1 Super Rugby title, 1 World Cup silver medal. Isn't that crazy? He actually has a World Cup silver medal. Look how far we have fallen since that. 1 rugby championship, 4 John Eels medal winners, and 2 World Player of the Year nominations. So massive congratulations to Michael Hooper on an incredible career. I know he's in Union, and we don't obviously talk about Union that much, but he's the kind of guy that I think deserves a bit of respect.
He's always just come across like a stand-up bloke to me, and I agree with you, mate. The way that he was treated in that World Cup, that was baffling.
The way he's represented this country, this nation, to be disrespected like that, outrageous. But let's not make it about negative. His career was incredible. What he did along his career, 2 times World Player of the Year nomination. Think about that. This is a world game. This isn't just in Australia. This is a world game. He did it twice. And he's the most capped Wallaby captain of all time. That's incredible.
Wow. Yeah, through that last decade and a half, it was just him and David Pocock, the 2 big names to stand out in the pack. And 4 times John Eels medal winner, best in Australian rugby. No mean feat, unbelievable. So, mate, he'll be dearly missed by the Wallabies.
And I know some people, we put a post up last night. Well, I put a post up last night, and they're like, "Oh, this is rugby union, mate. He's representing the country. He could be representing the country in badminton, and he still deserves friggin' respect because he's representing the great nation of Australia." So, massive congratulations to Michael Hooper. What an incredible career! I tell you what, you're doing something pretty special if a rival code has nothing but respect for you.
Yeah. And he's one of those guys, he's obviously, played through a pretty dark period for the Wallabies, but I look at him the same as I look at Phil Waugh and those sort of guys that were the back rowers and the flankers from that real golden era. He would have fit straight in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always, in league when we speak about players, when you say they would have been great in any era, that's a testament to kind of how good they were. Massive congratulations. All right. Let's get into Face and Music, brought to you by Sportsbet. You may have realised the podcast. It's less bubbly. It's less funny. There's less puns. But the great Hammy, he is over in Japan. What do you got there?
Oh, someone's getting real funny over here.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say the disrespect on Australian badminton star Tiffany Ho over there, mate. Bit of a sly dig there.
Sorry, Tiffany Ho.
About to rep us at the Olympics, and you're sitting there just throw away the line.
I did. I said even badminton.
I didn't miss it, and I know Tiffany's a big listener to the podcast.
Oh, how dare you, Timmy?
Tiffany didn't miss it either, mate.
Oh, that's low from you there, Timmy. I was saying even badminton needs respect. So Tiffany Ho? Is that,
yeah.
Good luck over the Olympics. Kill it. Represent this country with pride. Look, I've been following your career, as I know you will. Okay. Yeah, you may have noticed, podcast less bubbly. The great Hammy by name, Hammy by nature. Good one week, not good the other. He's over in Japan. He's over in Japan. Look, he loves love. He's with the missus. Here at this podcast, you know it's official. We love love. So when someone says to me, I'm going to be away for a week because I love love, I say, of course.
I'd be in love too if my Tigers just got beat 40-6.
Whoa, wow, Roo. That's tough.
I was talking to Hammy last night, and he was at a Pokemon museum or something. He put up a few things. I go, oh, fuck, that looks all right. And he goes, mate, you should have seen the line to get in. It was like Brett Nickera. No, Jesus, okay. That's enough from you.
Yeah.
See you in 2 weeks,
Blocked
pal.
for 2 weeks. Yeah. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Okay, let's get into Face of Music. Obviously brought to you by Sports. So give us a follow on the feed, guys. Takes 2 seconds, and it's a bit of fun. You can see I've been struggling lately. Jeez, my tips have been bad. So you can watch me in my pain. Give us a follow on the feed. You can copy our bets. We have custom-made Bloke in a Bar bets on it that you can just copy straight away. And it's a bit of fun, guys. We come in and look, put it this way. Did I tip Broncos 13+? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I'm an idiot, and you could have seen that if you're giving us follow on the feed. All right, time to face a bit of the music. Dogs defeat the Sharks 15-14. The line was -4.5 for Sharkies. I went Sharks, 0 points. Guru went Sharks, 0 points. We all went Sharks, 0 points. Warriors defeat the Broncos. The line was 2.5. I went Broncos, no points. Guru, Broncos, no points. Timmy went Warriors. 2 points for Timmy. Matty went Warriors, 2 points. Hammy went Broncos, Warriors, 1 point for Hammy. Knights defeat the Eels, 34-26. The line was half a point. I'm literally on 0 points. Guru, so I went Eels. Guru went Knights. He gets 2 points. Timmy gets 0 points. Matty gets 2 points, Knights. Hammy goes Eels, 0 points. Storm defeat the Raiders. I went Storm Raiders. So I get 2 points. Yes! We all actually got 2 points. Fuck! Dragons defeat the Dolphins 26-6. I went Dolphins, 0 points. We all got 0 points except for Hammy got 1 point. So he went Dragons. Cowboys defeat the Panthers. We all went I went Panthers, Cowboys. I got 1 point. Guru went Panthers, Cowboys. He got 1 point. Timmy went Panthers. Matty went Panthers, 0 points for you two. And Hammy went Panthers, Cowboys, 1 point. Roosters defeat the Tigers. I went Roosters, Tigers, 1 point. Guru went Roosters, 2. Roosters for you. Timmy, 2 for you. Matty, Roosters, Tigers, 1 for you. Hammy, Roosters, Tigers, 1 for you. Queensland, the men's game. I got 0 points. Guru got 1 point. Timmy got 1 point. Matty got 1 point. And Hammy got 0 points. Queensland women's, I went Queensland. I got 1 point. Everyone else got 0 points, but Hammy, he got 2 points. Total points, Matty, Guru, and Hammy, 8 points. Timmy, 7 points. Myself, 5 points.
Mate, you've done incredibly well to get to 5 there.
I know.
That sounded like a 1 or 2 week.
Yeah, it did. It was a tough week. Let's put it that way. It was a tough week. But because Hammy's not here, I don't have to do the punishment. All righty. That's thanks to Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. Always a massive thank you to Sportsbet. Got some if you go to NRL Weekly Hub, there's some really, really cool multis now that you can just boom, copy straight away to your bet slip. Head over to Sportsbet. Make sure to gamble responsibly, guys. You win some, you lose more. Don't go too crazy. Only bet within your means, guys, please.
The best part of that is that you know that when Hammy does get back, you're definitely getting docked points. So you're already starting on the back foot.
I'm in for a big week. Hey, they don't call me Dictator Denner for no reason. Alrighty, let's get into it. Bloke Beer Team of the Week. Grab a case of Bloke Beer. It's beer for blokes to turn up for family, mates, and good times. Aussie spirit in a can. Grab a case of easy drinking lager. We've got the midi, we've got the lager. Beautiful, easy drinking beers, guys. And it's the beer of rugby league, as you know. Alrighty, Team of the Week. At 1, Tedesco. At 2, Kyle Felt. Wow. I feel like he's had a really, like last year, he was up and down. There was even questions, would Semi Valame get that position? This year, he has fought his way back in the side. I think he's been really good this year for him.
Mate, the best thing about Kyle Feldt, he's always just been a try scorer. I think that, this is his 9th season with double-digit tries, which is an incredible effort. But, mate, the amount of work he's doing out of his own end now, like he's averaging 160, 170 metres per game out of nowhere. He didn't do that for the first 8 years.
Yeah. It's an interesting stat. 9 years with double-digit tries. That's close to Manu Vadavai, who was 10 years,
He did
10 or more tries. Which is like, you don't look at Kyle Feldt and put him in the same category as Vadavai, but I mean, he's been around doing this thing for a very long time now. Very long time.
Especially when you look back at that grand final, like, that's getting close to 10 years ago now.
Far out.
People forget about that grand final. He played residents that year for Queensland.
And mate,
So it's not like he was in the team all year.
Yeah.
And he scored the try, obviously, but he came up with some huge plays in that game. He stripped the ball off Ben Hunt just before that, and he came up with some massive plays.
Alrighty, at 3, Bradman Best with an absolutely incredible game. Jesse Ramian at 4. 5, Marju. 6, Matty Burton. 7, Tomato Martin. 8, Max King. 9, Garlic from the Storm. 10, Terrell May. 11, Sewer. 12, Barnett. 13, McInnes. At 14, Watson. 15, Moses. 16, McIntyre. 17, Faitala Mariner. That's your team of the week, Bloke Beer team of the week. But now let's get into the hungriest player, brought to you by our partners at Menulog. As always, a massive thank you to Menulog. Support people that support us, guys. Download the Menulog app today. Use it because each week you get your discounts. And they've been supporting us for a couple of years now, so we really appreciate it. And if you're going to order food to your house, it just takes 2 seconds to download the app. Instead of using other apps, you can use Menulog. And by doing that, not only do you get the discounts, but you're supporting us each time you use the discount. So we really appreciate that. And also, Menulog's gotten massively behind rugby league. They're the try or no try sponsor now too.
Which you're seeing plenty of.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, don't get me started. Alrighty. Hungriest player of the week, brought to you by Menulog, is Bradman Best. That's right. The great Bradman Best is our hungriest player of the week, brought to you by Menulog. And I'll tell you what, his game on the weekend was one of the best games from a centre I've seen in a very, very long time. It had everything. It had, work rate. It had, a bunch of stats that 300 plus metres for a centre. It was an incredible game. And, I feel like Bradman Best, although we still think he's one of the better centres and he's still relatively young, I think he's like 22 years old, I think people forget just how much this bloke exploded onto the scene. Had a couple of years with some injuries and he struggled to kind of put it together. Last year he came into Origin, he killed it. Sometimes when a guy, explodes onto the scene and then has a couple of quiet years, people don't really appreciate the fact that he's still so young and has so many years to develop into a great player. And I think Bradman Best fits that description perfectly where, this guy still has 10 years ahead of him. He has plenty more time. Matter of fact, it sounds scary to say, but he still has years to grow into his man strength. Think about that. Like, he's as strong as he is now, he still isn't a full-grown man yet. So his future, if he can stay injury-free, I think we're going to see more games like this. Obviously not all the time, but we'll be reminded why this guy was an absolute superstar coming into first grade. And I think we're starting to see that again this year with him.
When you said he's 22, I'll be honest with you, I sort of rolled my eyes and thought, no, he's not. He's 22 years old. It is wild. It feels like he's been around forever. And you look like, as we said, 22 years old, he's going to, by the time he's 23, he's going to already have 100 first grade games under his belt, despite the amount of injuries he's had, which is just unbelievable. He's at 83 right now. And, mate, that left edge for Newcastle, him and Marcio, finally look back to their best on the weekend. Kalen Ponga looks to return the next 2 to 3 weeks. That left edge is going to be humming.
Oh, absolutely. And what I like so much about Bradman Best is, like, if you could design a centre in a lab, it's almost him.
Yeah.
Big, like 100 kilos, but also he is so fast for how big he is. Like, his first 10 metres, the amount of times he plays against centres and you can see them go, holy shit, like I didn't expect that first 10 metres to be so explosive. He is a problem for outside, especially when he finds his groove and he matures a little bit more. He is going to be an absolute nightmare. Timmy, what do you reckon about Bradman?
As you said, the prototype for the perfect centre. And when you saw him streaking away for a couple of those tries, he's such a balanced runner. It looks so nice. And we were talking in the green room before the show just about just little sliding doors moments around that Origin camp where obviously riding the the frame for game 1 for the Blues missed out due to injury and sort of selection there. Among other things, Latrell comes in for game 2 because he's out injured, had limited time. Pardon me. We know he killed it in game 3 last year. You just sort of sit there now with Tommy Trbojevic coming back, Latrell coming back in and killing it, going, oh, God, hope he hasn't. Long term, there's going to be a lot of origin footy for Bradman Best, but just in that short term little window in the next year or two, barring injuries, how pivotal that little moment and missing the injury, the timing of it has come along.
Yeah.
Hope it doesn't hurt him too much, but nonetheless, in an origin period where we're going into, a series decider, he couldn't have come with a better performance on the weekend against the Eels.
Absolutely outstanding. So use code BEST for $7 off this week. Geez, Menulog have been incredibly generous this year. Essentially every week, you're either getting free delivery or $7 off. They've been so generous. Thank you so much to Menulog for doing that. When we went to them initially, we say, is there anything you can do for our audience, to make this a really good partnership? And they've been incredible. Each week they've given us great deals, great discounts. So use code BEST for $7 off this week. Alrighty, let's get into the review, shall we? Bulldogs defeat the Sharks 15-14. Bulldogs had a 92% possession of the ball in the opening 20 minutes. It was an absolutely incredible performance from the Bulldogs. Not in regards to did I watch that and go, wow, I haven't seen this from the Bulldogs before, but just their ability to hang in there and get the win in the end when it looked like the Sharks. There were periods there where I felt like, Sharks probably got just a little bit too much class. Yes, did the Bulldogs get some 50-50 calls in the last 10 minutes? Yeah, for sure. I'm not going to deny that. But you've got to be in the game. You've got to put yourself in a position to be able to win the game. And I feel like an idiot because each week I watch the Bulldogs and I'm just waiting for them to have that game where I go, okay, reality has set in here. Reality has set in. And each week they prove me wrong. Each week they go out there, they get the job done, and they don't just get it done in a way where they're throwing the ball around and things certain kind of fall into place. It is all off the back of their defence and their systems. An absolutely incredible win for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, very impressive, mate. And I'm sort of the same. Are we all Canterbury's a top 8 side this year? Are we
I'm convinced, yeah.
I'm convinced as well. Yeah.
Saying that they will make the 8?
Yeah.
I'm 50-50. They're every bit in the hunt. There's a long way to go.
If you had to predict your 8 right now, would they be in it?
I haven't looked at the ladder. I'm on the spot. What are they on? 5th, 20 points. A point clear of 9th, though. They've got a bye to come.
But the best defensive side in the competition is not named Penrith at the moment. That'll take you a long way.
It's more around, it's not necessarily around where they are on the ladder right now, which is 5th, which is great. Yeah. It's just the style of footy they're playing.
Yeah. No, they're absolutely capable of being a top 8 team. It's just, geez, it's tight having a look at it.
It's so tight.
There's 2 points between 5th and 12th. There's 4 points between 5th and 14th.
And when you have a look at, the 4 teams just out of the 8, Manly, Brisbane, Newcastle, Raiders, Turbo walks back in, Reece Walsh walks back in, Ponga walks back in, and Jamal Fogarty walks back into the Raiders, which is going to be very important for them. It's going to be a wild run home.
Their defence. Their defence is what convinces me that if I was to predict a top 8 right now with what the information we have, I think they squeeze in. And it's all reliant on their defence. Their ability to just hold teams out and just hang in it, stay in the game. It's incredible.
And that's the big thing for me that sort of I feel confident in saying they will be a top 8 side because it's not like they're a team running around with a hot hand like the Sharks get sometimes. You're like, okay, they could lose that. It's just their attitude, even when they've got guys out or whatever it is, or guys have to play different positions, they all just show a jersey every single week.
Well, they're not actually playing that well in attack. I don't watch them in attack and go, holy shit, this is incredible. It's just genuinely wherever someone lands in that lineup or wherever they land on the field during that time, they do a job.
And the other thing is, you sit there and say, Campy, I think everyone's been guilty as well of waiting for that game where they fall off the perch and have the reality check. And it's like, how many games do these blokes need to win before we sit there and go, no, they're the real deal and they're top 8 contenders and a finals footy team. They're a new team with new combinations. So in one sense, you sit there, when are they going to fall off? In another sense, you go, these combinations are only going to get better and better because they're very new. Yep. So while other teams may have been around together for a lot longer and, are relatively capped on what they can do, I think the Doggies, they're clearly a team on the up. So why can't they get even better?
Mate, it's just, if they finished 10th or 11th, I would have said they would probably consider that a successful year. And they may still finish 10th or 11th. It's a very close season at the moment. If they finish in the top 6, I reckon they're nearly 2 years ahead of schedule. Seriously, nearly 2 years ahead of schedule with where they're at.
I really would think about this and chat with a few people over the weekend, but it's just around Cameron Ciraldo and looking back on last season where it was a disappointing season for the Doggies and Ciraldo came from the Panthers with all this hype and it was underwhelming. Any other year, I think people sit there and go, he's coming to a club, he's inherited a roster that he didn't put together, a club that had been battling for a long time, the best part of a decade, and they were struggling. So, you cut him some slack. Because Andrew Webster had left from the Doggies as well as an assistant coach and gone to the Warriors and killed it, I think there was probably unfair comparisons, and because Webster had this unbelievable year with the Warriors, with, on paper, a better squad at the time, what Ciraldo did at the Doggies was, it was a bit maligned and all that, but you look at it now and go, 2 years in, which, as you said, Kempy, they're well ahead of schedule on what they're trying to do, especially if they play finals footy, but his blueprints are all over the team now. He's had time to work with them. He's getting the team that he wants. He's cleared out players that he doesn't want. So you can't help but just praise what he's doing there and just the club in general.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll be the first to put my hand up. I compared them. I compared what Webster was doing at Ciraldo, and I looked at, okay, so it's incredible what Webster's been able to do in regards to keep the roster that was essentially already there. He made some changes and get the best out of what was already there. Whereas Ciraldo, I never knocked, I'm the guy that was sitting here saying, friggin' stay patient every week, getting smashed for it. Never knocked the way he did it, but I did comment on it was a very different approach to Webster. Now, granted, the third year is probably where you'll get your best answer because each person can have one good year, and then the third year is going to be like, well, who really lands on their feet? But at the moment, with where the Bulldogs are, Ciraldo took that early pain to rebuild, and as you said, like every player in there now is a player that he wanted there, but also his DNA is all over the way they play. And so maybe he did take that early, tough 12 months. And Gus Gould has actually come out last year and said that he told him not to come to the club this early. He said to wait one more year and come a year after. And Ciraldo said, no, I want to get in there and do it now. And it seems like a genius move. So, yeah, you've got to praise his patience. Like, the amount of people, like, throughout the whole year last year, I was saying stay patient. Like, just stay patient, guys. He's going to need time to build this roster together. But even I was towards the back end of the season when they had a record defensive, like, worst defense in the club's history, essentially, or one of. Even I was sitting there going, shit, maybe this system that he has just doesn't work at another club. And I wasn't saying whether it did or it didn't, but I was beginning to question. Whereas for the first 20 rounds or whatever it was, I was going, no, just stay patient. It's the first year. It's paying off big time. Because I don't care what anyone says. This team on paper shouldn't be sitting fifth in the competition, and they are. Why? Because they work for each other, and they've got a good culture built in at that club.
It's brilliant. And all good points. And you look at it, again, back to finals prospects this season, because they've gone so heavy on utility players, the longer this season goes, the more season-ending injuries are going to be. There's going to impact teams. There'll be suspensions. All sorts of things are going to happen. Because of all these utilities, players, not just like they can change positions between the forward pack or between the backs, they've got half their forwards can play in the back line effectively. So they're so covered for anything bad.
I wonder whether there was some numbers that push them into making that decision.
Absolutely. There's no coincidence that they've gone heavy on utilities, and at the moment it's paying off, and I think it's only going to pay off more in the back end of the year when players do go down. It's inevitable.
Yeah, so I reckon surely Ciraldo sat down, he's looked at, okay, this is the amount of injuries you have in a year, and because he's a very meticulous operator, Ciraldo. Like, he's not just a willy-nilly, I feel this works, so this doesn't work. There must have been some stats or numbers saying that the more players that can play multiple positions, the more wins you get, or something along those lines. Because it was a very methodical tactic they used. Like, they were getting shit all off-season for basically all you've signed is utilities. Now it looks like, what a brilliant move.
Here's some numbers for you. So in the first 2 weeks, remember they lost to the Eels, 26 points to 8. They lost to the Sharkies, 25 points to 6. And Matt Burton was sitting out on that left side, and we all sort of went, fuck, they need to get him more involved. There was even calls for him to play fullback. Even I found that appealing at the time because you just thought he's just not doing enough on that football side. And I would have thought for the Canterbury Bulldogs to be doing well, Matt Burton has to be absolutely braining it, right? The whole team's built around him. You look over the last 9 games of football, and this is nothing against Matt Burton. He's scored 3 tries. He's had 3 try assists, and he's had 4 line break assists. Across those 9 games, he's averaging 48 touches of the football. In those first 2 games, he averaged 52. So they're not even doing it relying on solely Matt Burton. They are just a well-coached, good footy side all round.
They're just buying into the system.
They are just buying in. Everyone calling for Matt Burton having to do more. Like, when you look at those numbers, last 9 games, 3 tries, 4 line break assists. He's not absolutely flying. And they're winning games of football. They're in 5th, 6th place. It's crazy.
It's going to be exciting when he gets a roster. When this roster builds into and he starts plugging in with these young guns that are coming through, far out. Like, it's going to be super, super exciting to watch. Okay, into the game. I just got to shout it out. I know we speak about it a lot, but 6 minutes into the game, the Bulldogs are stuck in a corner. It's the second tackle. Guess who's there to take a one off the ruck hit up straight into the forwards? It's Critter. As a centre, he doesn't need to do that. He could. That is a winger's job. That is a winger's job or a fullback's job to come across, take the hit up. Critter, after an incredible Origin game, what was that, a 2-day turnaround?
Yep.
2-day turnaround, 6 minutes in, he's taken a one off the ruck hit up in his own corner. And that's leadership. That is leadership. You can talk as much as you want, you can try and G the boys up as much as you want, but actually going out there and taking the tough carries when your team needs it early in the game, that's a leader in Critter.
And I'm sure we've all seen it since, but obviously Stephen Crichton after the game, Hines, I think he was getting heckled by fans or something, and went up the tunnel to put his arm around him. He is you can't push anyone else's by the year for me. And when you look at Critter, what he's achieved in the age of that, and how much more footy he's got to go, and the impact he's already had on Canterbury, this could be one of the great signings ever. It's got that sort of
club
potential.
Defining.
It could be club defining.
Yeah, could be one of those. It could be similar to like what Lazarus used to do when he arrived at clubs. Again, we're ages away from that, but it could be that because it's such a key signing.
And if you have a look at the impact that Critter's had on this Canterbury club in the last 6 months, think about what he can have over the next few years. Like, if he's the captain that brings Canterbury out of this drought and they win a premiership with him, he's already got 3 premierships under his belt. He's got some of the biggest moments in rugby league history already. Imagine if he captains the Canterbury Bulldogs.
And they were basically sitting last on the table when he arrived.
And people say hyperbolic, blah, blah, blah. Like, it will be one of the greatest signings of all time.
If he can, take a team from essentially, what did they finish, like 13th or 14th last year?
And have been a disaster for the last 5 or 6 years.
They haven't played finals footy since like 2014, 15 or something?
16? 15? No. Did they play after the 14 game final?
I think Desi has it once he left.
That might have been it.
Yeah, they haven't played since.
Jeez. You add into it that they didn't have a captain at the start of the year. And West Sydney trying to work out who was going to be captain. For Taylor Marin had left, it wasn't going to be Marnie, a few different options. They didn't have one, and he's come in and done it.
They were 15th last year and 12th the year before.
So, he's rolled into a bottom of the table side. So, okay, in regards to Burton, his boot. Without Burton's boot, they get beaten. I honestly reckon by 2 tries at least. The amount of times the Sharks had field position just dominating him, and he would just boot them out of trouble. And they'd go again, get dominated, boot them out of trouble. Go again, because they're not the biggest pack and they're not the biggest side. Teams can get rolling on them, but he just goes, that extra 10 metres you just made, negated by my big boot. He literally kept them in the game with his boot.
Sorry, they haven't played finals since 2016, and they got the spoon in 2021.
Wow.
When you watch like other teams in this competition that don't have a Mitch Moses or a Burton with a big boot, like I personally, I don't take as much notice of it, but when you see it, you're like, every team needs one of those guys.
It's great. Like the ability to turn a set around the way that a big boot does, it's you can honestly pay anything for.
And I'm sure you guys would have talked about it last Wednesday, but like when Mitch Moses hit that first kick, I just went, oh God, we have needed this so badly.
Yep. I also liked how Bulldogs came out and targeted Katoa with kicks, and that's Katoa obviously on the Sharky side. He's just got some real concerns under the high ball in some big matches, so he's probably going to be targeted for the rest of the game. Now, the rest of the year and going forward, he'll have to work on that. But I just like the game plan of we've been told to target him. Let's just go at him. He didn't catch his first 2 bombs, I think, if I recall correctly. So, really like that as he was also targeted by the Panthers as well.
Which sounds so easy. Kick to this guy, but it's about your entire team buying into that, putting yourself in the right positions to be able to target him. Mate, the guy that's sending out to me, and stats, I don't even know what they look like. I imagine they wouldn't be great, but this Bailey Hayward at 13, he is so smart. His timing and everything he does is incredible. You said at the start of the season, they had all these utilities and we're going, geez, that 13 jersey could go to anyone. He wasn't even mentioned. I think he looks great there.
Yeah, well, I remember watching him in one of the preseason trials where I think they beat the Storm.
Yeah.
I think it was a Storm, and he looked great.
He killed it.
Yeah,
he just looked
killed
like a natural footballer.
Yeah.
Look at it as well. Like, Sharkies were, to my knowledge, full strength. Doggies, no Josh Addo-Carr, no Kurt Mann, no Jacob Preston, like a fair share of key outs. And then Sharkies, no Origin backups. Critter was back off 2 days.
And those 3 names you mentioned, when they're playing for Canterbury, they're some of their best. Like, Kurt Mann's been unbelievable this year when he plays.
Yeah, absolutely. So, great stuff from the Doggies. I thought their front row, just hung in there and just did a job. Like, they don't get enough appreciation. And we always talk about, on paper this, on paper that, but they're doing it. That front row is sitting 5th. If you had looked at that front row heading into this year, there's no way you would have said they're fit. And also that front row is going toe-to-toe with, the best in the competition at times. Like, it is him and Hughes, King and Hughes, I think that is a massive raps for leading this team around.
I would love to pick the brains of the Doggies coaching staff and Seraldo about just the nature of this pack. Smaller dynamic. We've spoken about it week in, week out over the last sort of month, 5 weeks. But just the way they've modelled it, was it always a plan to go with a smaller, more mobile pack? Was this the roster, as I said, that he's inherited and he just couldn't quite sign those big boppers? But it's been so effective, and I'd love to have a good chat to someone within the club and find out what the go was, because it's so effective.
And you have a look at Canterbury Bulldogs, like they missed twice as many tackles as the Cronulla Sharks, but at no point when I'm watching them do they not just have numbers everywhere.
Yeah.
Their scrambles just second to none.
Yeah.
I'll double check it. I think the Doggies have the most missed tackles in the NRL, but the second best defensive record behind Penrith.
It's similar to the way Wayne used to coach defence. Like, he was just all about scramble. He was just all about constantly competing. Like, whenever I was coaching him, I never really remember. Obviously, there would have been times, but I never really remember him blowing up about, if someone shot up out of the line, tried to shot someone and it didn't work. The only time he'd blow up is if you're trying to do a selfish play rather than something to help the team. The time he would blow up is when people weren't scrambling, and you see that with the Bulldogs. Like, they just their feet are always moving, and that's one key to good defence, is your feet are always moving.
And just to sum that up, mate, they are leading the competition in support runs.
There you go. They got a fit, fast, agile team that are committed to playing for every single minute of the 80 minutes.
37.7 missed tackles a game, number 1 in the NRL, and it just bites into, we speak about it all the time, not every missed tackle is the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's remarkable, those two stats.
Yeah, and just like, if you can scramble for your mate beside you, then you can afford to miss tackles.
And just another small thing, the West Tigers, they've got the second most charge downs in the competition this year with 6. Canterbury have 10.
Hurry up.
You're right, they are just always moving.
Yeah.
Big Billy Kick out have 9 of them.
He'd have a stack.
Yeah. And what do we talk about the Penrith Panthers all the time? They're the fittest team in the comp. And so clearly Seraldo has gone to the Bulldogs and said, you're going to be the fittest team in the comp, and you're going to work all game. Never take a moment off.
Kick out genuinely does have 5.
Well,
He's a beast.
Yeah.
he is a beast. Okay, now on to the Sharkies. Anything else on the Doggies there?
No, mate.
On to the Sharkies. Obviously, the big talking point, look, the Rudolph penalty, it was a 50-50. It could have gone on either way. Me personally, I didn't think it was a penalty, because I look at it and I go, he was tackling him as he kicked it. Yes, he held on to him for a second too long. He was never going to get there. So, look, it's a 50-50 for me. Like, I'm not too angry that it was called, but at the same time, I could have seen it being left as well. So I can't... Look, I understand if Sharkies fans, you're passionate about it and you get upset about it, but I don't think it's too an outrageous call, that one specifically. I will say, though, geez, the Bulldogs got a lot of 50-50 calls in that last 10 minutes.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you on that one. It's a coin flip every time, realistically. But yeah, Canterbury did get a few calls go their way. I mean, you just need to look at this game ago. It was 3 tries to 2. Canterbury still found a way to win it.
Well, the thing I look at is that, yep, they did get those calls in the last 10 minutes, but Sharkies still had opportunities to win the game. Yeah. And that's the big talking point. The big talking point is obviously Hines missing the field goal from in front. Look, Hines, for sure, he should nail those. That's what he gets paid to do. I get all that. He's just in a tough period in his career right now. He's been in tough periods in his career before, but at least for the first year and a half or whatever, it's been it's been the Nico Hines show. Everyone loves Hines. It's been great. Now he's going through that natural period that every single footballer goes through that, you know, if you're not playing, if you're not icing those moments, because like people, I've seen comments saying that he's never iced games. Like, no, he's iced plenty of games for the Sharkies. You just can't remember them. So it's not to suggest he can't do it, but that doesn't take away the fact that he should be doing it against the Doggies. He's just going through a period where it's going to be tough. He needs to ride it out and learn from it rather than allowing it to swallow him up and spit him out the other side in a worse player. Because not only is he having these moments like the sideline conversion and the drop kick that missed, but also like, you know, fans, we have this kind of like 2-year rule. Like we love a player for 2 years. Then when we realise that everyone loves them, we start looking for, you know, reasons to not like them. So it's a tough period for Hines right now. He should ice those moments, but it's all about learning and building. You know, there are plenty of players out there, some of the greatest of all time, that have missed game-winning situations, and he just needs to learn from it, in my opinion.
Isn't he just a great example of just how brutal the life of a halfback can be? Yeah. Like, he's in year 3. He's got a Dalian medal. His team's in 3rd. His team is entirely built around him. They're in 3rd place. Yes, he's missed a couple of key moments, no doubting that, but people are talking like he can't play.
Well, it's funny. So I got a message from a guy, and he was respectful, but he was basically talking like Hines needs to go. And I said, I said to him, whenever you have that, and look, we're all guilty of it. We get caught up in the passion. We just lost a game we should have won, blah, blah. Whenever you're, and you can do this, you can take it or leave it. But whenever you're feeling like angry at a certain player or whatever, I always ask myself this question. If tomorrow you woke up and they said, I don't want to be at this club anymore, I'm going to leave, how would you feel about that? And 2, how many clubs do you reckon would be interested in signing that bloke? If your answer to that is, I don't want him to leave, I don't want him to actually go, and also there'd be 16 other clubs that would take him in a second, then your answer is he's a bloody good player that just happened to miss a field goal.
Yeah, he just on the root off. I thought I leant towards that it probably was a penalty.
Yep.
I was certainly happy for it to be called. I mean, you can't praise the Doggies the way we just did, and then be sort of too critical of the Sharks losing in Golden Point. Like, they scored 3 tries to 2 in it. They'll be ruining the missed opportunities. Yeah, it's a fascinating one, Nico, isn't it? Because I agree with the sentiments of both you boys. Like, he's an NRL player. It is a long season. He's still, by comparison to other gun halves in the game, he's still early in his career, certainly in that position. He's in a form slump. He is. He looks like he's been a bit rattled by the Origin opening game.
It's definitely a tough period. This is a growing period for him
It is
right
what
now.
it is. Like, it's hard to sugarcoat the game on the weekend because he had numerous opportunities and he couldn't ice it.
I think he also kicked out on the... he had 7 tackles set, I think. Anyway.
Like,
sorry.
I'm so confident that he'll bounce back in time and get back to gun form. Like, it's also only been a very small window of poor form. It was basically from the Panthers game into Origin and through. I look at him and I know, like, Kemp, you've had a little bit to do with him, and does he have the killer instinct and the arsehole about him where, like, I look at Mitch Moses and every time he plays, he's animated, he's passionate, he scores a try, and he's like, he just wants to win at all costs. I look at Nico, and this is comparing him to the elites of the game. Does he have it in him, like the dog in him, that, you know, it's what makes you thrive at Origin level, and it's what makes you thrive in the key moments of games? Because at times I'm just like, he sounds like he's the world's nicest bloke. Does he have it in him?
I think he, not necessarily like what you would associate have the dog in him. I don't think he's aggressive like that, but he's hyper competitive.
That's probably what I was leaning to.
Yeah, he absolutely has hyper competition in him. Like, he absolutely has that. He doesn't necessarily have the kind of spite dog in him that you can see in Moses sometimes.
Yes.
Where
the
it's,
fuck you, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I'd probably lean him more towards like a DCE competitor, whereas DCE doesn't have that spite dog in him to a degree. But DCE is like the ultra competes
He's
on everything.
win at all costs.
At all costs, yeah.
Does Nico Hines have the same mindset?
I'm not sure. Look, put it this way: his mindset, it's not at DCE's level, but I think that you can. I think he has the ability to grow into that mindset. I think
it's a natural. You've got it or you don't know. I don't know if it's a thing that you grow into. That killing
I don't think you get to his level when a Dally.
And I think you're probably right. And that's why I'm just asking the question. But every professional athlete I've ever spoken to, they are just win at all costs. And the best of all time, I'm not saying Nico Hines has to be bloody immortal, but you see them and they're just like, they would give anything to win anything that they do. I just don't know if I see that in Nico.
I just think he expresses it in a different way to a lot of other people that we're used to. Go back and watch that Roosters game last year in the final series. You tell me that's not a player that's trying to win at all costs. I get the sentiment, though, that, like, you look at him and because he expresses it in a different way. Like, for example, he didn't nail the field goal, but he was still there to take it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's still
he doesn't stop putting his hand up.
Yeah, he's putting his hand up.
Oh, he doesn't stop trying.
And also, we've you go back a couple of years, like he has converted to win games. I'm pretty sure he's also dropped goals.
I got some examples.
Yep.
Against the Eels, it was 16-all. Kicked it not from the sideline, but close enough to the sideline after the buzzer. He kicked a field goal against the Rabbitohs in Golden Point. So, like, he's been there before.
He's definitely done that.
Against the Cowboys in the Val game, he was the best player on the field. So I know we didn't kick the field goal that day, but he's iced games before, 100%.
Yeah, he's definitely done it before. I just agree with you in regards to Timmy. Like, he's in a form slump. He's in a tough time in his life right now. Craig Fitzgibbon also said it as well. He's just going through a tough time. He's 27 years old, turning 28, I'm pretty sure. He'll grow from this. It's just a tough time. It's not landing for him.
He just turned 28.
He just turned 28. Certain things are not landing for him, but this bloke's won a Dally M against some pretty bloody good players.
And I think, like, when we keep, the guys we keep talking about and comparing him to Mitch Moses, DCE, like there was 4 and 5 year stretches where you couldn't back DCE and Moses to win shit.
No way.
You couldn't trust them in big moments for years, and people forget that now because they're at such a high level. But for years, you couldn't rely on these guys.
That was a knock on Mitchell Moses.
100%.
In big games, he would just go from side to side to side to side, and we actually saw it actually against the Knights to a degree. And we'd be going like, mate, just straighten the tuck up. So I get what you're saying though, because he comes across as such a nice guy that can sometimes be confused with doesn't have the dog in him to get the job done. I think he does.
Just on Tim's point, I on the weekend, I was actually thinking a very similar thing. And when Reid Marnie went at him at halftime, I thought, fuck, I wonder if it's going to unlock. Like, surely Reid said something about Origin.
Yeah, of course.
Must have. And like, for me, I was like, fuck, it'll be interesting to see how Nico, if he does come out. And, like, as much as Mitch Moses can go sideways and everything, you could see in that game, like, he wanted it. Like, I thought Mitch Moses was up there the best player on the field.
Moses was incredible. And that was more just a throwaway comment. Moses, it's been a couple of years now since you had to, pretty much since they made the grand final, really, where the question as to whether he can win big games or not, that's been put to bed years ago for Moses.
And once again, that's year 10 of being a halfback for Moses. Nico, it's weird because he's come from Melbourne and he's older than the other guys, but he's still in year 3. You don't become a good halfback overnight.
In NRL. I know some people say, he played halves growing up. It's very different.
So different.
It's so different.
And he's really fascinating next month for him because, as I reckon he bounces back. I think he'll come good. It'll all be fine. But mentally, obviously battling on the footy field a little bit at the moment. Sharky's still playing good footy. They've got a really good draw coming up. Really fascinating to see where he's at in a month and how he responds to, because he's had his last 2 years have been not largely unblemished, but most things he's done touches have turned to goal.
Put it this way, like, the reality is, the facts of the matter are, and I agree, he didn't ice those 2 games, whatever. The fact of the matter is this: the team was 10th when he arrived. They came second in the first year that he was there. I think 5th or 6th the next year, and they're currently sitting 3rd. That's the fact of the matter. That's a bloody good resume for a bloke that was bought for, I think, about $600,000, and he was coming off the bench for the Storm, playing a bit of fullback and a bit of utility.
Once again, just shows the gravity of the 7 jersey. It is. You get all the rewards when your team's winning, but when they're not, it is on your head. Fair or unfair, it's just the way it is. 65%
win rate for Nico at the Sharks.
Pretty bloody good for a 7. That's pretty bloody good. But I do think, in regards to like your initial question, I do think he still needs to take a step up to be in the category of elite winner, like your DCEs, like your Mitchell Moses, like your Clearys. You know what I'm saying? So that, from that perspective, taking a step up into that top tier of winners, I think he just needs to ice a few more games to step into that, I think. I'd love to compare, like, how many games has Moses iced compared to Hines in the last few years. It'd be interesting to see, because that was a big question about Moses for a long time in his career, was like, you get to the key point in the game and it just didn't seem to work. He'd sometimes try too hard, whereas he's nailed it now.
And that's it. Like, I'm judging purely on demeanour. Like, his teammates might sit there and go, no, he could be the most competitive bloke in the team. I'm not sure. And, like, he plays it in the sense that he never stops trying. He's in everything, but he's just got such a calm, like, laid-back demeanour, nice guy. Doesn't look it from the outset, but maybe he does. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think he does. But I agree with the sentiment of to take that step into like ultra winner, like your DCEs and that, he's still got some time to work into that, in my opinion.
Yep.
In regards to other performances, look, they still played relatively well. Like they had a lot of field position. You know, they dominated the Bulldogs for a lot of it. They 3 tries to 2, kicking game let them down. Matty Burton's boot kept him in the game. A few little things, like I know Trindle ended up scoring that try in the corner, but they just have some players in their side where when they might be building pressure for 10 minutes and they're building, and then just a silly error comes and you just go, shit. If you could just remove that one silly error, you'd be considered in the elite of the elite when it comes to teams going for a premiership. I just think this Sharky side, and maybe it's a matter of time and they can build into it, but it's just like, it's not necessarily the amount of errors they're making. It's just like when the moment comes, they'll just make a silly error and it'll just let down all the hard work they've done. There was a Trindle one. Sharky's working their ass off. They're getting field position back. And then he throws a forward pass. And that'd been 10 minutes of building pressure and it was gone. Now, I know Trindle came back and scored that try, which was great. But it was just an example of that, in my opinion, is the difference between the top tier sides and just a little bit below that the Sharks are at. If they can sort that out, then hopefully they can go a bit further.
Mate, when we sat down a few weeks ago and picked our origin sides, I know Jesse Raymond was high up your list. I've been watching him really closely the last few weeks. Fuck, he's playing good footy.
Yeah, he's a bloody good
He's
player.
playing incredible footy at the moment, and that Sharks right edge, they are humming.
Yeah, absolutely. Who else stood out for you?
Cameron McInnes I think we had him in our team of the week, 59 minutes, 20 runs for 170 metres. He had a try assist, 7 tackle breaks, 52 tackles with 1 miss. That is an unbelievable effort.
Yeah, he is just a dog. Talk about dogs. He's a dog. Alrighty. Warriors defeat the Broncos 32-16. What an important win for the Warriors. Came out, got the job done, looked good doing it. High completion rate, 1 field position, 62% of possession in the opening half. And I think at one stage it was like 70%. And that's exactly what you need to do when you're struggling with form, things aren't going your way, hold on the ball and win field position. And that's exactly what they did. And Tamade Martin, I mean, hasn't he just come on leaps and bounds? Like it's a big headache for Webster now. If Tamade Martin continues this, it's a big headache as to who is your main man in the spine. The Warriors were outstanding. What do you think, Roo?
This is such a headache for them. Very interesting situation to watch play out. I thought that first try, I think it was Chanel Harris-Tavita scored it, mate. That was brilliant ball playing. The way that they use AFB, like you saw Katoni Staggs defending out there, and he just saw AFB and went, fuck it, and just shot up on him. The way that they utilise him, you know, guys like him, Latrell's similar for feeders the same. Sometimes they're more dangerous without the football than they are with it. And the way they utilise him is fantastic. But Tamade Martin, he was... I mean, I don't think there's any denying that they've played better footy this year with him in the 7.
Yeah, at the moment.
Here's the games. So they're 15 games this year, won 7, lost 8. 4 games, Tamade Martin playing as the 7 without Sean Johnson on deck. Beat Penrith 22-20, beat the Dolphins 24-20, beat the Cowboys 42-12, beat the Broncos 32-16. 4 games, 10 tries, assists, 2 tries, 3 line breaks.
I mean, it's a good thing for Warriors going forward because he's not at the, he's not necessarily a rookie, but he's also got at least 3 or 4 more years left in him, maybe more, to play. But yeah, he was outstanding. He's just so slick with the footy. And I've said it before, but when he first came into the grade, I didn't really see it. And maybe that was just me, I don't know. But I tell you what, ever since he came back, and I know he was really good at the Cowboys, but again, he was good, but to lead a team around, I just wasn't sure about. But seriously, since he was at the Broncos and then went to the Warriors, he's been outstanding. He's
so good. And it's sometimes you just need to see the bloke or a player in a spine player become the dominant player in the team. And he's done it and taken it with both hands. And so the results, the stats, they all speak for themselves. And I think what we're seeing with the Warriors is that they play their best footy with an out-and-out number 7 and a ball running 5'8", because Chanel Harris-Tavita at 5'8" as well, he was terrific and really stood up in this game. We even saw earlier in the year, I think they lost the first 2 games, but weren't too bad, then went on a bit of a run. That was with SJ at 7 and Luke Metcalf at 6. He was playing some good footy there as well before he got injured. Last year, again, it was largely with a combination like that. Organising 7, ball running number 6, that seems to work for the Warriors.
Yeah, it does. The two ball playing 6s and 7, it just doesn't seem to. They don't seem to gel that well. So yeah, it's a huge headache to have, but it's a good headache to have. I wouldn't necessarily say are the Warriors back. I'm not there yet at all. I mean, not even close to there yet. But at the very least, they can salvage the season. That's where I'm at right now. Now, if they go out and kill it for the next month, then obviously we can look to say that they're potentially back, because the table is so close. You just never know. Like they could.
Yeah, on the table, like they had to win that really to stay in top 8 contention, I think. But at the bigger picture, and yeah, like it was a good performance on the weekend, but the Broncos were right in that game for a lot of it. It was a Broncos team without Walsh, Carrigan, Haas, Reynolds, whoever else. So it's like at home, off the back of the most humiliating defeat of the season, and in a number of years for the Warriors, they had to win that game.
Yeah.
The Warriors aren't a bottom tier team where you go, they just don't have it, it's not that good roster. We know the foundations of a very good football side are there. We saw it last year and we've seen it at stages this year. They had to win this game.
Yeah. So they've salvaged their season, but what I liked the most about it was high completion rate, but they looked like they were running with enthusiasm, they were hitting their marks where they're supposed to get, their lines were good. They just look way more energetic. Like, it was honestly night and day. And not just compared to their massive loss last week. It's just been compared to the last few weeks for them. In regards to good players, obviously, Chanel Harris-Tavita, he was also outstanding with those 2 tries. Mitch Barnett, though, for me, just so... Timmy, he started in the middle and then may have moved out to an edge.
Yeah, I think he played a bit of both.
Yeah, but far out, like... I'd say Adam Fanor-Blake is still the most important forward in that pack, but and he has been since he's been at the Warriors, but just this season alone, Mitch Barnett is not that far off.
He's not that far off at all. The gap is very, very close, and I'd argue, I think Mitch Barnett's the most consistent forward at the club this year.
Well,
this year specifically, yeah.
Guess who didn't play last week against the Titans?
Barnett. Yeah. So yeah, Mitch Barnett for me, and just his versatility. Like, can go in the middle, kill it, can go on an edge, kill it. Surely there is an Origin jersey in the next few years for him. Like, surely being that versatile and that good at both positions, it's a bloody good thing to have.
Yeah, for sure, and I think that'd be a great reward, because like, it wasn't that long ago Mitch Barnett was just a complete and utter lunatic that I thought you can't go near. Like, with all due respect to him, like, it was you were just always waiting for Barnett to have his next thing. Mate, he's turned into a leader over there. He's consistency isn't a word that I thought I'd associate with him a couple of years ago. He's grown up a lot, mate. He's like, I think it's very evident he's gone away and worked on himself a bit, and he's getting the rewards for it.
I think football-wise, he was always consistent enough. It was just the temper and the brain explosions.
He wasn't playing this good.
Not like
No.
Close,
but I'm sorry, I don't remember watching a lot of Barnett games, even at the night, where he go, he had a stinker, or that was terrible. I thought his footy was solid enough. He just had brain explosions that got to him and threw him off track in games.
Yeah, I mean, consistency, like, he was always relatively consistent, but I never looked at him like he is going to make a big impact in first grade. He looked to me like if he had a few bad games, he could get replaced. Whereas now he is like unbelievable.
Yeah, and sure, like when he was at Newcastle, like consistently, I would say he was probably like a 6 or a 7. Like, he's consistently an 8 or a 9 now.
He's a better player now.
The level's crazy.
Yeah.
So he's just gone to a whole new level. In regards to other players playing well, boys, who do you think stood out for you?
Mate, the halves, we've already sort of covered them. I thought it was interesting, like Jackson Ford's been playing big minutes last week. He only played 35 minutes.
Mate, he just got to get those errors out of his game. Can't help
Toru,
himself.
25.
Toru only played 25 minutes. He can't be 100% there. It was interesting how they used their forwards throughout this game. I'll tell you what, Wade Egan's one, mate. He was on fire at the start of the season. Like, he was in Blues contention at one point there. He's I don't know, he just doesn't seem to be running the football as much anymore for me. It's very much just pass off the deck. He doesn't seem to be troubling teams too much around the ruck, whereas like he was arguably the hooker troubling most teams at one point this season.
He was like arguably the form hooker of the comp at stages there.
Some of the stuff he was doing was unbelievable around the ruck.
Maybe he's carrying injury.
Well, mate, knowing Wade Egan, we've said it plenty of times, he's too tough for his own good. You would almost have to assume he's carrying something.
Yeah. But yeah, really, really good win. Anyone else stand out for you boys?
Pretty good, mate.
Yeah.
So they just got to build off this. They've just got to build off this, and like it might be a blessing in disguise that SJ is out for 3 to 4 weeks because it just goes, all right, we're all in on Tomato Martin now. Harris Tavita's our 6. Can we build something here? Can we build a foundation here with these players in key positions?
Imagine if they win 3 in the trot while he's out.
Then what do you do?
You can't pick him. If they win 3 in the trot.
It's brutal, but what do you do if they're winning games of football and all of a sudden they're in 8th place?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Sure.
By the way, that Warriors jersey on the weekend was
Oh my
an
God.
all-timer.
So good. Such a good jersey. Holy shit. On to the Broncos. Really just... Oh, look. There were periods there where they defended their asses off, which you love to see, and things aren't going their way, but geez, the amount of errors is just like... It's genuinely mind-blowing. I just think there's too many young players that are okay with making errors and are too focused on breaking the line or a big play or a highlight. One-handed pickups or throwing long balls coming out of our own end. Now, I don't know whether that's a Kevy thing, that's what he is instilling in them, to just attack from anywhere and just play footy, or it's a young player thing, but whoever it is... Got to change. Everything worked for them last year. Everything went well. Like, granted, I know they're missing all their origin stars, but if they had held the ball and had a high completion rate in this game in the we'll put it this way, first 20 minutes, I think it was 5-0 penalty count against them, and they had, like, no ball.
So in the first half, the territory was 81% to the Warriors in the whole first half.
Jeez.
And it's just like, as I said, I understand that players are out, origin players not backing up, which I agree with. I think that, in this modern era, I don't like the idea of players backing up. I know some clubs do it, but I don't like it anymore.
I love that from Kevy, resting him. Like, three-day turnaround, flying over to New Zealand for it.
Yeah.
Carrigan played 70 minutes in Origin. Haas was about 55 or something. Walsh has been battered and bruised in recent times. Like, they're not humming along this year, the Broncos. They're out of form at the moment. They could have used those players. I think that shows such maturity from Kevy just going, no. He's also backed his boys to go, firstly, we can win this game. They didn't, whatever, but that they'll dig themselves out of this. They'll make the 8 and compete at the back end of the season. I thought it was a great move, despite the result.
I agree. This idea of like backing up after Origin, I know some can do it. We saw Xavier Coates go down with a hammy. It's just...
Xavier Coates... with a recent history of hamstring injuries. Like, why?
And how many people have got injured around Origin over the last couple of years? Like, Cleary had soft tissue, Cam Murray had soft tissue, Latrell last year, I think he had, I know he didn't end up playing Origin, but around that period, like, And
if Kevy does back him up in this game, and one of those 3, again, Payne Haas the last couple of years, a few sort of soft tissue injuries, if he loses any of them for the next 4, 5, 6 weeks or even longer, they can't afford to lose any of them 3 players, and they can't afford to lose too many more games. So it's like...
Well, look at Jermaine Hopgood. He backed up after Origin. He's out for the year now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Cleary's almost 2 years in a row he's backed up from games and injured himself.
I like that from Kevy. But, in regards to just some key players, just errors and just not... Just rein it in. You're coming out of your own end, complete your bloody sets, earn the right to do the highlight reel play. Because everything clicked for this last year. Everything clicked for the Broncos last year. Everything was going well. You're not going to have that every year. And I just think that there's too many players that are okay with making errors. They need to realise that sometimes those big plays you're going for, that's a selfish play. Everyone wants to go out there and make the highlight reel. Everyone wants to do that. Do the conservative play, especially in your own end. Get through your sets. Earn the right to do the big plays down in their end.
You mentioned it before the show, and 2 players, Kempy. You've already got Walsh and Selwyn Cobbo, who essentially, certainly Walsh, do have a bit of a license to play attacking football and chance their arm. When they've got that license and you know mistakes are going to happen, the rest of the team can't afford to be like that.
Yeah. And like, I understand if you're a young player, you're watching them play and you're like, oh, you know, they play like that, so I should play like that. There's only one Bruce Walsh. There's only one Selwyn Cobbo. There's also some other little things like that try where they grub it in behind and Tristan Saylor was like nowhere to be found. And even, let's say he was on the other side and he was at A marker, the fact that he was just like jogging, like I'm sorry, but that's just not acceptable in NRL to be jogging. Like, fair enough. Let's say that same play happens and because he's A marker on the right side and he's sprinting across and he doesn't make it. It's like, you know what? You made your effort. The fact that he was just jogging across, like just little things like that, just, yeah, it's tough to watch.
One thing that I found tough to watch, mate, the Broncos missing all these players during the origin period. You've lost 4 or 5 in a row, whatever it might be. You got a Kangaroo centre in Katoni Staggs. He had 7 runs for 30 metres. Like, I would have thought during this origin period, you know, with players out and whatnot, like Kevy would have gone, mate, we need you to stand up here. He touched the football 10 times in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I think was he captain as well? He's in the press conference.
He was too, yeah. Like over this origin period, I just went through the numbers. He's averaged 80 metres per game.
Yeah, I just, unfortunately, you know, Madden, for me, he's been given this opportunity to really kind of get a bit of a resume going in first grade, but I don't know what it is. He just doesn't seem to have the confidence, or his kicking game isn't the best either. And I watch in the second half, and it happens quite a lot, especially when Madden's playing. Like, Ezra Mam in the second half will, like, come to life. And I just wonder whether it's worth going, you know what, keys to the castle, Ezra, it's your team.
Yep.
Just from the get-go, do whatever you want to try and win the match. Because at the moment with Madden, like some of his kicking just wasn't up to NRL standard, unfortunately. And look, he's a good backup, good to get the job done, but at the same time, like, you still got to play well when you come play first grade.
I said it a few weeks ago, and he was your 18th man on the week, and I'd be giving Rogers a shot. If you're not going to play Ezra Mam at halfback, which you've seen the effect that's had on Cody Walker over the last few weeks, just handing him the keys and saying, go play footy, I'd be very keen to see Rogers get an opportunity there. He plays with energy.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
That Xavier Willison try. What a beast.
Yeah.
Not many players can score that. Like, that was Andrew Fafita-esque the way he did that.
Yeah.
So 4 blokes on you just went, get off me.
He's got to be part of your proper rotation, doesn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
he's locked in now.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if when you get full strength, if he's only playing 20, 25 minutes. I think I'd be trying to bump him up a little bit more and find some more minutes for him, because you can tell too, like he's been playing for a few years now, Willison. He's had injuries, but you can tell that like he knows he belongs there.
Yeah.
I'd be very keen to see you use him for a few more minutes off the bench when you're all full strength.
No, I think they will. I think they will. So look, disappointing for the Broncos. They showed, you know, moments of fight but unfortunately they got to dig themselves out of this, because it's getting to a point where, okay, top 4 might be just completely out of reach, even though statistically they can still get there. But the main worry now is just making the 8.
Well, mate, you guys are in 10th right now. You're on 18 points. You play the Panthers this week. Let's say hypothetically you lose that. The 2 teams below you, Knights and Raiders, they play each other. Warriors play Canterbury. Like, if they win that, you could be 13th next week, which is just crazy. There's only 9 weeks left. They're running out of time.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been saying they're running out of time for friggin' 3 weeks now. So, oh man, I tell you what, if they miss the finals, the negative press. You know, you enjoyed all the love last year because they were just so good to watch, but it'll come fast and quick, and you'll be shocked at how negative the press will be. And, you know, as much as you have got a lot of players to come back and whatnot, once again, the teams around you, Newcastle have got KP to return. Manly's got Tom Trbojevic to return. Like, you're not the only team with some stars coming back that are going to get better. Absolutely. So, yeah, I know there's a lot of injuries and we had some players out or whatever, but, you know, that's why you're supposed to win games like the games against the Titans. Like, all those games that have been dropped where we should have won them, that's why you have to make them count. This time last year, from memory, round 13, Broncos, Warriors, baby Broncos went over there during Origin and towed them up. And that Tomato
was
Martin. We had friggin'. Was that Tomato Martin year? Or was that 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago.
that game was 2 years ago. No, yeah, there was last year the Broncos beat. Tomorrow was 2 years ago, the Broncos.
Tomorrow was 2 years ago. But yeah, we went out and it was in Christchurch or something like that. It wasn't at the normal stadium.
Yeah, and the Warriors were killing it. Broncos had everyone out, and it was a massive upset, but they got the job done. So
yeah, and it went all the way to the wire there, if I recall.
And it's even like at the trials at the start of the year, mate. Like I remember walking away from there going, "Jeez, the Broncos, their depth is just unfair."
Yeah. No, it's not looking good. They've got to pull themselves out of it because pretty much it starts next week. Like it really does. If they don't put together some good footy this coming week, like
they also play round 19 that next major bye round with all the Origin players out. So against the odds there already. That's against the Dragons at Suncorp. Very winnable without Hunt and Lomax, but yeah, toughie.
Yeah.
Mate, isn't it unbelievable? You're in 10th place right now. Like you're $9 to win the comp still. I don't know if there's ever been a team.
Jesus.
That's unbelievable.
So hopefully the boys can pull themselves out. Back them always. Always back them. But very disappointed on the weekend. Alrighty, it's time for our great mate Dwayne Bennett. Dwayne, about Origin Game 2. I need your support here, mate. I'm surrounded by New South Wales supporters. Speak to me.
Mate, it was tough to see New South Wales win, but credit where credit's due. They played their best 40 minutes of Origin footy ever.
What's the question this week, mate?
Who is your favourite State of Origin player ever of all time?
Wow. Okay, ever. All right. Greatest. So the question is the greatest ever State of Origin player, or not the greatest ever, sorry, favourite Origin player.
Favourite.
For me, it has to be Darren Lockyer. I just think the amount of clutch, the amount of clutched moments he had in Origin, but also the fact that he played obviously at number 1, he played at 6. He was also a part of that transition phase where there was nearly 3 in a row, or nearly 4 in a row. Was it 4? Transitioned into that dominant period. He laid the foundation for greatness. But a little smoky that didn't play that much Origin, but anytime he got on the field, he just did what fullback / utilities do for Queensland. Matty Bowen. It's just he didn't play as much Origin, but whenever he played, he was exciting. What about you, Guru?
Most Queenslanders I hate, but Matty Bowen's very hard to push back on. A good shout there. Obviously, Joey's hard to go past for us. That 05 series is just something else. But I'd probably have Freddie right up there for me. Had some huge moments. I was there in 04 when he came out of retirement. So Freddie, Joey, I think are our obvious ones for me.
Yep.
Yeah, assuming we've got Trent Hodkinson in a class of his own, probably behind him, not probably the most, had the biggest success rates of all time for the Blues, but I think the Morris twins for me just typified that the Blues spirit, and a lot of their games were during that era of Queensland dominance, but just two blokes who never gave up. The infamous game, both injured, made some incredible tackles and effort areas. I just loved watching those two every time they put on that jersey.
Dwayne, mate, what's the weekly update for the Finlanders?
It's so easy. You just got to go to finland.com.au, download your digital passport on your smartphone. Don't forget, new Finlanders out there, get the iconic, the majestic Budget Direct Fin sent to their home address. It's easy.
How good is that? Mate, thanks so much for joining us, bro. We really do appreciate it. Alrighty, before we get into tonight's Eels, Kaya's got you covered this footy season with every game of every round live and ad break free during play. Some key games, Cowboys versus Manly, which are exclusive to Fox League and available on Kayo, plus the grand final rematch of Broncos v Panthers, which is live and ad break free during play. There's plenty of room for everyone, so get on board with Kayo. Now also available on Hubble. Plus there's a bunch of other stuff you can watch on Kayo, guys, including UFC. They do the cards now on Kayo, which is awesome. Watch the one on the weekend, Pereira, with an incredible head kick. So make sure to download and use Kayo. It's an incredible streaming service. Knights defeat the Eels 34-26. What a bloody good win from the Knights. I tell you what, heading into that match, you go, do they have enough points to beat the Eels? Obviously, I picked the Eels to win, but they're one team that I don't think it gets talked about that much anymore, the fact that KP's been missing for so long, and they've just kind of got on and done the job. Now, don't get me wrong, they've had some really disappointing performances here or there and lackluster in attack, but they've got on with it. They've, I thought Hastings was really, really good, especially in the first half. They're creating points, they're connecting really well, and they've got guys in their outside backs that are, before it was all about the KP show. How can he get us points? Now, you're seeing guys like Bradman Bess and Dan Gagai, who are stepping up and going, no, we can still create points. Just give me the ball and give me the ball early. So outstanding win from the Knights. And that's why. The LDVT 60 power play of the week is Bradman Best and Greg Marju. Scoring 4 tries between them is our LDVT 60 power play of the week. The LDVT 60 has 160 kilowatts of grunt, which makes it one of the most powerful units in its class. Auto from 38990 drive away for ABN holders. 7 years, so 200,000 kilometre warranty. Whichever occurs first. At that price, why get second hand when you have a brand new LDV?
Mate, I thought Newcastle's performance, it wasn't their greatest performance of all time, but you're right. Like, without KP, I think you got to remember as well in this game, they're taking on the Parramatta Eels, one of the biggest packs in the competition. They lost Leo Thompson, who, in my opinion, has been their best front row forward this year by quite a distance. They then lost Dylan Lucas as well. So Kai Pearce-Paul, who was returning from injury, who they wanted to bring off the bench, they had to move him back into the starting side. Lucas has been tremendous this year. On top of that, they're 5'8" and fullback combined for a grand total of 3 NRL games.
Yep.
They go up against Parramatta, Mitch Moses, Dill Brown, Clint Gutherson. On top of that as well, Jaden Brayley come off the bench. Phoenix Crossland, who was a utility last year, playing hooker. It's incredible that they're winning games in the NRL, let alone... I know Parramatta's last on the table or second last or whatever, but they're a much better side than that. They've got the troops. Very impressive from the Newcastle Knights.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
Awesome game of footy to watch. It was just fun. Points flowing, back and forth leads. It was just great. They started moving the ball well again the Knights. I think their ball movement side to side, and I know it's been quite a wet month of footy and whatnot, and Kalen Ponga being out for a long period, that's hurt as well, but I just didn't... I felt like they've been really one-dimensional in their footy the past 5-6 weeks, even winning a few games in that period. They're just starting to move it... on the weekend, they started to move it really well. And you saw it open up for Greg Marju on a few occasions. Fletcher Sharp chiming in the back line. You add in there, Armstrong was fullback for a bit, and then Fletcher Sharp was fullback for a bit. So they have had new combinations. Their halves have chopped and changed a lot. So maybe that's been it. But they just, in attack, they all looked on the same page again, went side to side really well. Good footy.
Yeah, good footy. What I liked about Sharp, I think it was one of Marju's try, where just early ball. He got the ball to his edges early. And when you look at this Knights side, a team without KP, you're not going to be able to play the same as what KP plays. There's probably only really Reece Walsh and Latrell that have the same quality of ball playing as KP. So what strength do you have? Well, your strength is you got 2 of the best centres in the competition in Dan Gagai and Bradman Best. Get him early ball, and also you've got one of the most destructive wingers in the competition in Marju. Give him a bit of space, get him early ball, and it worked. It worked. It seems simple.
Yeah. It's a good lesson, I think, as well, thinking very much off the top of the head, but off the back of you saying that, Kempy, when you see fullbacks in the NRL that probably that do lack that ball playing, there aren't many teams in the competition who don't have at least one strike centre or something there that they can play with. Just give early ball. And we saw it at Origin on the weekend, on Wednesday, how the halves there and Dylan Edwards was just getting the centres early ball and how destructive. Jacob Kiraz in the Doggies game, very much that Joey Manu style fullback he's a powerful ball runner but not really the ball playing. Give Stephen Crichton early ball Fletcher Sharp. Great ball runner. He's young. He'll develop his ball playing, but as you said, he just gave Bradman Best early ball and he terrorised.
Yeah, and also with the speed of the game now, all you need is a quick play the ball and then early ball. And I feel like because we've been we romanticise this ball-playing fullback so much, and rightly so. We've forgotten for friggin' 20 years or however long, it used to be long ball to your centre and he goes one-on-one with his centre and beats him. That used to be the go-to. Now it's all out the back. It's all, the centre is basically just running almost like a flat shape where he can get face-balled across to his winger. Whereas I do feel like with how fast the game is, and sometimes with that out-the-back play, it can actually slow down momentum. Just early ball, front foot footy, get it to your big centres and just make something happen.
And if you are the best centres in the game, Bradman Best, Latrell Mitchell, Stephen Crichton, Katoni Staggs, what do they think? They're thinking, just get me the ball.
Yeah.
Get it to me early, give me a bit of space. It doesn't have to be these perfect plays out the back where, they half get a bit of a gap on the edge and that bit of space. Just give it to me early. They'll do the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. So, really, really good game. I thought Jackson Hastings' kicking game was quite solid. I thought that, Price, his try was great. Did he set the world alight in his performance? Like, I don't think so. But what I liked about Price being in the lineup, like, he just added that extra bit of energy, fear in the opposition of, like, this kid he might be able to do something special. They've kind of lacked that in their spine, especially their halves at least. Number 6, that give him the ball and he might be able to create something.
Yeah, and I thought he looked really good. And, I had major concerns about him in defence coming to this game. And, mate, I actually thought he held his own. He was pretty good. I'm not sure if you saw the Parramatta Eels went down the left edge at the start of the game and the play broke down, but Mike Acevo had the ball and he palmed him off at one point. And you could see he reached out to grab him before he even got a hand on him. Acevo just got him in the chest and just threw him about a metre. And I straight away went, oh, fuck, this could be a long night here. But he showed a jersey for the rest of the night. He was really good for Price. I also thought, mate, and it's something that frustrates me sometimes. Like, and he was doing the same thing last year as well, but because they were humming, no one seemed to care. But the amount that Hastings uses his back rower, like sometimes I think he overdoes it. But you saw him go to Kai Pearce-Paul like the first 7 times they had the ball. And then as soon as he went out the back, you could tell the Parramatta Eels, their whole defence had all sunk in on Kai Pearce-Paul. And then all of a sudden you've got Greg Marshy with so much space in the world. And sometimes I agree with people. I think Jackson does overplay that at times. But fuck, you saw a game plan work out there.
Yeah.
Well, Greg Marshy's been catching a cold on that left wing the last couple of months.
Yeah.
So off the back of your point there, start to play at the back more and did the hard yards early, got him to tie in, had plenty of success.
And I think that's been the game plan the last few weeks. But they just haven't held enough football to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Then in this game, they're actually able to. And once KP's back, he will obviously demand a lot more football out there. And that left edge is going to be scary.
Yeah, definitely agree with the Will Price defence was the big watch going into this. We know he can attack, but how is he going to go in defence? And it's only one game, but I don't think there are any bad missed tackles on it from memory or anything that he letting in any tries. But held together right there. He's fit into that playing group, hasn't he? The boys seem to get really up and about around him, and it was quite a special night. Like legendary, Pommy football father Leon Price came over for that one as well. They kept flashing him in the stands, and they were up for Will Price's debut.
Yeah, which is it's almost half the battle. If you've got a guy in a key position that everyone loves and gets around, you can work all that other stuff out. And look, he's probably not going to be a strong defender for many years. You don't have to be the perfect player when you come into first grade. Everyone has a deficiency at some point. Like, for example, Hastings, he's not that flary. He's not going to go crazy and, do what Reece Walsh does. But he's going to be really steady. He's going to get you around the park and going to get the job done. And the same with Price. Like, he's going to do the flashy stuff. And he might sometimes miss a tackle here or there, but he's probably going to score a try here or there too. So,
tell you what, this side, if Will Price can lock down a starting spot with Kalen Ponga coming back, far out there's going to be some points in him.
Yeah. Exciting.
You mentioned there his old man Leon Price. I was having a look at his stats over the weekend. He debuted in 1998, retired in 2017. He played 496 games in the Super League, 195 tries.
Remarkable,
Incredible.
eh?
Yeah, and he only retired, 2017? Not that long ago, considering his son's a few years into his career. Wild.
Incredible. Anyone else stand out for you boys for the Knights?
I thought Dan Saifidi was good. As I said, when Leo Thompson got ruled out, I was very worried about the Newcastle Knights at that point, but I thought he stood up and played probably his best game I've seen him play in a while.
Well, there were whispers, I think, maybe him. There was blokes maybe getting tapped on the shoulder at the Knights. So going to be interesting to watch that space, whether it galvanises the team or whether it hurts them a little bit. Alrighty, on to the Eels. Man, this is a tough one because you get caught in the trap of looking at their squad and going, shit, they should really win this match.
Yep.
But then you have to compare at where they're at this season and you go, okay, well, haven't been that good. I thought Mitch Moses was outstanding. What I really loved about what the Eels are doing with Mitch Moses is they're actually getting him one wider and Dylan Brown is passing him the ball. He scored 2 tries off it. And just that first 10 metres, which he's absolutely electric at, I loved it. I loved them using him a little bit wider because he scored 2 tries literally off that play.
Well, I think both of them were, on that left edge. So obviously right edge player on the left edge, getting it sweeping off Dill Brown, and it was 2 tries off pure speed, wasn't it?
Yeah, just
very
gassing
interesting.
I wonder whether Trent Barrett, obviously in a incredible half, maybe he's identified that and said, why is Mitchell Moses always feeding the ball when he's literally the fastest we have over 10? Get him a bit wider. I think I loved it.
How good did he look coming off those scrums?
So quick.
You add into it as well, Dill Brown, one of the best direct runners, ability to square defenders up. If he's doing that for Mitch Moses, which he did twice on the weekend, because I think Dill Brown threw the pass for both Moses, try for that. It makes sense, doesn't it?
And also, like, Dill Brown, because he's such a good ball runner, as a defender, you have to stay on him. Like, you have to stay on him. You can't afford to be like, oh, yeah, I'll just check him and keep moving. If he dummies, he's going to bump you. So, yeah, I really, really like that from the Eels. So, look, yeah, disappointing they didn't get the win, but I tell you what, they are a lifetime away from a team we were watching, 4 or 5 weeks ago. Granted, I know they got some key players back, but they're still looking way better.
Thought the Cardi party had some big plays in this game. He obviously set up the try for Junior Buller at the back end, but, man, I thought the pass he threw to Gutho for the first try.
And also over the top to...
Yeah, he threw that one too. He had a cracker, Bryce Cartwright. I'm so glad that his career has played out the way it has. He would have been such a bad talent to lose in our game.
Yep, so talented. Blaise Talangi, he scored 2 tries. I got to say, though, I just think defensively, he probably either needs... Look, their season's pretty much over, so maybe you keep him in there to learn, but you can tell that he has quite a bit to round out his game to be ready for first grade, in my opinion. Super talented, raw talented kid. Probably got brought in a bit earlier than expected with everything going on. And he scored the 2 tries, which is great. I just think that when you watch him, you go... If he could have just had a little bit longer to develop his game, he's going to be an outstanding outside back.
Well, and I think you need to just and I agree with you. He looks like a kid that hasn't played much wing, which is exactly what he is. Like, he's always come through 5'8", centre, bit of fullback. In the junior grades, I don't ever remember him playing wing at all. So he's learning a new position in first grade,
even in centre though, he had some defensive lapses.
I don't think he's a centre. I don't think he's played that much there either.
He's 19 in his first season in the NRL. And he's played centre, 5'8", fullback, wing. Talk about baptism of fire. In a side on the bottom of the table, almost on the bottom of the table.
Oh, it's a massive... These are the kind of players, because you know that he's going to have a long career. He's so talented. You just want to make sure that these first few years are done correctly. Like, how many other players do we talk about at clubs that have struggled where we go, could you imagine if their first few years of development had been correct? And I just hope Talangi gets the right development, because he has all the ingredients to be an absolute superstar.
When you look at like they've obviously got Zach Lomax arriving. Like, I hope they're picking a team right now. Like if they're going to play Zach Lomax on the wing, do you start to play Blaise centres and go through this period?
Whatever is best for his development, he should be doing right now, in my opinion. Because their season's over. Well, in my opinion, I don't think they can come back if they do incredible. This guy could be around for 10 years. He could be one of the best outside backs in the competition. And I will look at him and I go, he's been thrown around all these different positions, and then you throw him on the wing. Defensively, he makes some decisions that, he probably wouldn't make with more game time there. I just want to make sure he gets the right development. I hope they're doing that at the Eels.
It's a tough decision for the Eels moving forward, because I'm with you. I think he can be a potential superstar of the game. Do you bloody him, as you said, Kempy, just on the wing this year? Like, as it stands, he's an out-and-out fullback, because it just gets him out of the front line defensively. He's electric with ball in hand, and he's been terrific this year in attack when he has played in the front line. But just defensively, like, if he's to start next year at centre or wing or whatever, he's just going to be such a target for opposition every single game. Like, but with Gutho at fullback, Brown and Most in the halves.
Well, I wonder whether you just give him some reps on the wing and, like, get him some time to learn how to defend on the wing. Because I reckon he's got the skill set to do it.
And that's it. He looks like... I don't think he looks that small. He's just 19 years old. Like, so, with another year of growth, another year in the gym, the off-season, all that, mate, they probably can get him to a point where defensively he at least holds up.
I think so. I think so for sure. And as I said, I hope that they're really focusing on his development. Like, not just throwing him in, going, oh, he's a rookie, he's going to be going. Like, really making sure that he's getting the best development, because I believe that he has all the talent to be an absolute superstar. And so, if it is on the wing for now, good. Just make sure you're taking care of him. Don't bring him into a video session and absolutely smash him because he missed 3 tackles. It's like, develop him correctly. I do feel like
Greg Marshall.
Just develop him, give him the right opportunities, because again, we've seen so many young players at clubs that are struggling that just haven't been developed correctly. And I look at Blaise and I would hate to see him be scarred because let's say he comes out next week, misses a few more tackles, Comes out the week up, misses a few more tackles, and then the coach is into him, and then he's dropped, and he's brought back in, brought back in. You know what I'm saying? And then before you know it, you're 6 months down the track or a year down the track, and you're sitting there going, he's got no confidence. He's not doing the things we know he can do. Why do you think that is? Because you didn't develop him properly. That's why. So, yeah, he's got so much talent, though. Fuck. In a few years, I can't wait to see him in 2 to 3 years. As his body fills out, he's going to do some special things, in my opinion. Outside of that, who else, boys, you felt about the Eels?
With Jermaine Hopgood out for the year, I know they keep naming Joe Owen 13. I'd just be going all in on Matto there. I know he's only just come back from injury and whatnot, and maybe that is the plan. They're just working him into it, but I think he had like 4 or 5 offloads in that game. They just couldn't contain Matto.
Yeah.
Even injury, it's like he was having the dizzy spells, so it's just concussion related. So not as if he wasn't training. There's no like limitations. It was just, unless it's mental and holding him back a little bit, but he's fit and ready to go. So like, I'm with you. You've got to get more minutes into him, don't you?
Yeah. I think Joe O is a front rower, personally. I'd be having Matto there every day of the week. And if I was playing the Parramatta Eels, I'd be stoked if they're naming Joe there instead of Matto.
Anything else on the Eels, boys?
Nah.
Matty Arthur debut. Congratulations.
Oh,
to
yeah.
him.
Massive congratulations. Jeez, he moves a bit like Harry Grant, doesn't he?
Gee, was it in commentary they were saying Adam O'Brien was his babysitter?
No
at
way.
Arthur's? Yeah, they're living down the south coast or something. I hope I haven't screwed that up. I'm sure they said AOB was there babysitting for Matt Arthur at one point.
If not, it's one of the greatest made-up yarns of all time.
No.
I back it.
Love that.
No, because they were talking about. No, I'm pretty sure it was. It's something damn close to that. If I'm wrong, I reckon I'm good.
And I congratulate. Look, hopefully they got the thing is the Eels. They got these young guys. Just got to make sure they get the right development because they're clearly talented. Just get the right development. All right. On to Storm defeating the Raiders, 16-6. A bit of a talking point out of this that I wanted to speak to you guys about because I have been getting more and more concerned about this. Just the reffing style that I feel has crept into the game where it seems like, and it's not a coincidence because it's happening quite a lot, where a ref will just go like for 20 minutes, bang, 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 like 6 penalties or 5 penalties to one team. And then the next 20 minutes, it's bang, 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 it's to 6 penalties or 5 penalties to the other team. And I look at that and I go, how's that even possible? Like, if you're reffing purely on just looking at the way they're doing things and each tackle is a new tackle, how's it possible that one team goes from like super discipline to no discipline? I'm getting a bit concerned at the type of reffing that seems to be creeping in, where one half it's one team gets all the penalties, the next half it's the other team gets all the penalties. It just doesn't seem to add up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't necessarily always agree with what Ricky Short says, but I think he said after this game it feels like they're just guessing. It's hard to push back on.
It's hard to, like, the amount of 6 agains where it's just a convenience for them. Like, they just go, I feel like, yep, boom, just going to go. And you never go back, you never look at the replay. The 6 again has been really, really good for the game in getting rid of the wrestle. But, geez, I am getting close to saying, fuck, we might need to rein it even more because I feel like the refs are using it as an easy out of just going, yeah, boom, I'll just go 6 again, boom, I'll just go 6 again. Whereas back in the day, when you called a penalty, it was scrutinised, and I actually don't think it's the refs' fault. I think the NRL need to put more resources in to making refs, to skill the refs up. I think the NRL needs to do more.
Because that's the hard thing about these. They blow them, and before you even have time to take in what it was for or what happened or whether it was fair or unfair, you play the balls down the track.
Yeah.
And you just have and you're right, when it's a penalty, you get a replay, you get to look at it again, but these 6 agains, like personally... when I'm watching a game of football, I have an idea of whether there's been a lot of 6 agains or not. But if you ask me to tell you the number of them, I'd have no idea.
No idea. I don't know. And look, I'd be okay if it was like, the penalty count. And look, not every game's going to be the same. Some games, one team is just way less disciplined than the other. Like, absolutely. I'm not saying that everyone. But what I don't get is like how often. It's for 20 minutes this team's ill-disciplined, for 20 minutes this... Whereas if the penalties were given like one for you. Now, I don't want that to happen. I want you to just penalise what you see. But it just seems to be a trend. There's just patches where you get a bunch of penalties and then patches where you don't. I don't know.
Well, I think you can you'd sugarcoat it and say, oh, no, it just happens and this and that. But I think the reality is, Kempy, the refs, they're squaring up the penalty counts because... it reflects poorly on them at the end of the game if it's a 10-2 penalty count, whatever. I genuinely don't believe that each decision is being made as a standalone penalty or 6 again. I think, as you said, particularly in back end of games, when if there's a lopsided scoreline or something, where they give them to square up penalty counts and tighten it up because they don't want to have that at the end of a game. And I'm with you. I don't like when there is a lopsided penalty count, it's 10-2 or something, and a coach comes out and blows up out and says, "Oh, look at the penalty count, like that's unjustified." It's like, no. Sometimes a team is far less disciplined than another one, especially if you're a team that gets dominated. You're going to be lying all over the ruck. They're going to be punching through the middle. There's going to be more 6 agains, but I don't believe that. I think they're squared up, and I don't think they're going to change it because I think the NRL looking at it are going, we probably want these lopsided penalty counts to be squared up by then as well, so that there aren't blow-ups from fans. But I hate it. I don't think it's going to change.
Just off the back of that, Timmy, sorry. I reckon the worst thing that they did earlier was like 10 weeks ago when they come out and said, there's 20, for every penalty we blow, there's 20 that we don't blow, whatever they said about it. Now, ever since hearing that, whenever I see a penalty, particularly against my team, I think, well, why that one? Why did they blow that one? And now when I see just like Origin, when there's 6 in a row and then 8 in a row, I'm like, well, clearly they're having their own personal influence on the game.
Well, I spoke to my brother Sam about it last week. It's his pet peeve. He hates it in games that they do it. And he goes, the one that they call all the time, if there's been like a bad decision that's critiqued or whatever against a team, he said the next set, almost every bloody time, like if it's on a try, they'll get one coming out of their end because they'll blow them for offside, just as a square.
Well, remember we're watching Origin, so we're all here watching Origin, and it just was New South Wales penalty, like just boom, just get smashing penalties, and we go, watch this, guarantee Queensland gets a penalty, boom, offside. Got a penalty, Queensland get a penalty coming out of their end, they go back down, we go, watch this another bit, boom, 10 offside, again.
It's genuinely predictable, and his point is that generally speaking, rugby league is not a technical game. But if you want it to be technical, he said the refs can find a penalty
every single run.
Every single run.
Yeah.
Whether it's a toe in front of the line, whether it's holding on for 0.1 of a second, they can find one if they want it. And they do find it and they square up counts. Like it's...
Just to double down on your Origin thing, I actually remember we were sitting here and on the 5th penalty that New South Wales got, we all kind of jokingly said, okay, that's the last penalty New South Wales are going to get for a while. Then they got an out in the full, so out of the ref's control. But then they actually didn't get one until the 60th minute. We literally called it.
And I just think it's becoming too much of a trend that's becoming obvious. And as I said, I don't think it's actually the refs' fault. I think it's the NRL needs to put more resources into skilling these refs up because it just seems... I do feel like the ref standard is becoming really hard to know what the consistency is. And
100%, it is not an individual ref's fault.
No,
they all do it.
Yep.
And I reckon, as I said, I think the NRL are more than happy with it because they're happy to see them squared up. So it is not a crack at the refs themselves.
No.
It's as a wider view on it, and from the NRL looking down on it.
Well, I'll put it this way: as a game, if there's one, like the game is going so well right now. If there's one critique I have right now, is probably the inconsistency in reffing. And that's where I feel like the NRL need to put more resources into giving our refs as much opportunity to be the best versions of themselves as possible.
What does that look like? Is it... What does that look like to you?
Like just more training. More training, more money put behind it, more lessons, just skilling them up. Like, for example, if you're in a company or a business and, you've got employees that you want to make better, you'll put them through a 10-week course to learn about certain things. And that's what I reckon they need to do with refs. Now, look, if they're already doing it, they're already doing as much as they can do, then okay, fair enough. Then this is the standard of ref we're going to have. That's fine. It's just part of rugby league. But I don't know. I just get the feeling that the refs aren't getting as much resources as probably they want. I got no insight on that. That's just a feeling I get.
I think though, the other side of it too is that fans and as general public, and I think coaches as well, to be completely honest with you, I think that whenever a coach loses a penalty count by 3 or more, they just straight away throw their hands up and go, oh, well, how can that possibly happen? I think a lot of fans do the same thing. Like, I think if there is a penalty count that's 10-5, like maybe that means your team was fucking more ill disciplined. And that's like why, I don't know, I think there's a lot of fans out there that unless the penalty count is even, and we all blow up about when there's square ups, but a lot of fans, unless the penalty count is even, they think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And in what universe should the penalty count be even realistically? You tell me both those teams are equally matched in that game?
Yeah, this is where I just think that, I agree with you, like fans and even coaches at some time, but I think the NRL needs to just be strong and go, what is going to be the best product? Yeah. Strong, strong behind the refs, and the NRL are strong behind the refs, but I would be even stronger and be like, no, we guys, this is how much resources we put into them. This is how much we believe in them. This is how much they train. If you disagree with certain things, we're not going to get it right every time, but they genuinely can't be any better because we can't put any more risks than we already do.
Yeah, but then everyone at home and in the comments and everything, like, if you think it's, they're all square up penalties at the moment, when they're not, don't complain then that it's bullshit, though.
Well, the fans are going to say what they're going to say, I think. You're not going to be able to stop them from being passionate and looking for excuses as to why their team lost.
It's just tough then, because then what it'll be like. Then it'll be, the top teams always get the good calls. Like, the top team gets the good call because they dominate the ruck.
Yeah, but I guess from where I'm coming from is like, you can't be reactionary if you're the NRL. Like, I understand, fans are going to say that, but I do think the NRL, they need to speak to coaches and that and be like, mate, can you just, in regards to the penalty count, you're not doing anyone any favours by speaking about it publicly. And I'm sure the NRL already do that. But yeah, I just think the NRL needs to put a bit more resources into the reffing. And look, if they already are, then fair enough. But, Wayne has come out and said, similar sentiments. Now Ricky has come out and said it. I do tend to agree, I think. And we have to go back. It was only, 4 or 5 years ago that they had a ref taken off the field. Think about that as a ref. You've got 2 for a few years. How much easier your job is, how much better you can look at things, and then they just go, boom, nah.
And they change it in the middle of the season.
Middle of the season, boom. So little things like that, for example, I get a feeling that the touchies are told to not interfere as much as possible. Because the amount of times I watch touchies just look at stuff, like literally looking at it and not say anything, or at least they say something but they might get ignored, it's like crazy.
Yeah, and mate, if I'm a touchy, like the amount of times there, and it happened a few times over the weekend where there's a try scoring situation in the corner and the touchy doesn't put his flag up or doesn't say anything, they just let it go upstairs, and I hear the commentators go, oh well, why didn't he call it? And I'm like, well, fuck, if you watch it on your 7 replays and he's got it wrong, you're going to call for his head this week.
Yeah, we could somehow try to create an environment that we back our refs a bit more, and that doesn't mean we have to be. Like, you can still be critical of them. You can still be critical of them, but the hyper vitriol I think we need to try to change that in a way, because it's going to just be better for our game. It'll be better for everyone all round. Anyway, to performance, 16-6. Look, Raiders really, really brave in defence. And look, the result for me is a brave result for the Raiders, but by God, those errors, holy shit. It was just error after error after error. And what is weird is they're so gallant in defence. It's so it's clearly not a care factor thing. It just, I don't understand. What do you think, Timmy?
Yeah, it was frustrating because after a few really disappointing weeks, they turned up. They had a massive crack against Melbourne, who are flying high this season, down there. It was backs were against the wall and their attitude was great. The try on half-time was a real killer. We had it where we wanted. It was in an arm wrestle to let that one in. Elliott Whitehead had a bit of a real rare lapse in defence, which doesn't really happen with him, and let him through, and that sort of broke the shackles that little bit. But, in terms of the effort areas, I thought the Raiders were really good. As you said, we just could not take a kick, could not. Our kick diffusion was terrible in this game. It just gave them too many opportunities, and with a side that's as good with ball in hand as the Storm, you just can't do it. And I think we end up conceding 3 tries, scored one ourselves. I've spoken about our attack all year and how we just lack quality, we lack class in the spine and those playmakers. That was evident in this one. Even the KO Weeks try was on a runaway. It was an incredible try. It was a remarkable try, but yeah, I thought the boys had a massive crack. We were just outplayed by a better team.
24% kick defusal. I can't remember seeing it that low ever.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's low.
It's wild. The Raiders were tough and resilient, which you expected. After Ricky Stewart gave him a bit of a spray last week, I think we all saw that coming from them. I preferred KO Weeks at fullback. I think he looked better there. I think, and I personally think KO would be the first one to tell you he's not a halfback. He's just playing there because they got no other choice. But I thought he looked better there. Jamal Fogarty can't be too far away, can he?
No, he's got to be the next few weeks. They've got a bye in round 19, so round 20 it'd have to be bloody close.
Jeez, they need him back.
So desperately. I feel like, the first 5-6 weeks was a honeymoon phase of, all right, we're going to rip in, we're going to find a way, but eventually It's a long season. You need key players in key positions.
I thought it was interesting too, and you know more than me, but you moved Ethan Strange to the other side, and you moved Savage as well. It was a lot of change.
Yeah, well, Ethan, he seems like he's so suited to the left edge, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And like the step back in off the left foot and the jink, I don't know.
Okay, in regards to performances, Kale Weeks' try, I know he dropped a few balls or whatever, but that try was unbelievable. It just shows you how much potential there is in this kid. You know, we write kids off and players off so quickly. He's still only 22, 23 years old, got plenty of time to develop. I'll be interested to see if they keep him at fullback going forward until maybe Chevy Stewart's ready.
Yeah, well, interesting to see that they didn't just go with Chevy straight up. Obviously, man of the match the other night in the under 19s. He flew to New Zealand, played New South Wales Cup, which I'm sure we'll talk to soon. Some fireworks over there.
Oh, man. Wow.
Old left, right, good night.
Well, not good night.
Not good night.
Right
While the Warriors had 2 players sent off for getting
What are they
punched in
getting
the
sent off
goal.
for literally getting punched in the head twice?
Horsburgh headbutted and then threw 2 punches, and they had 2. It was insane. But anyway.
Well, he was listening to the podcast last week, Corey Horsburgh, and we weren't sure if he'd been playing or not. He said, well, I'm going to make sure people know that I'm back. And he succeeded.
Oh, far out. Big red. Who stood out for you for the Raiders, Timmy?
Well, just on the Weeks thing, he's got the attributes of a fullback. I've said from as soon as we signed him, I'm like, he's a fullback. I don't think he's a frontline player. So much potential in him. And he's actually surprised me at what he's been able to do in attack. Whether or not he's smart enough to play fullback, and he's still so young, so there's still so much to learn, but whether he can round his game to have his positioning in the right spot. I don't know whether he's a talker at fullback. Maybe there's a future in the halves for him with a good organising number 7. When he's with another ball running 5'8", it doesn't really work. But yeah, I said the effort was there. No one really stood out to me, mate.
I thought Tarpanen worked his friggin' arse off.
Yeah, I was about to say Tarpanay, but he does it every week, Tarpanay. Yeah. Outside of that, no one really. Tommy Starling played more minutes than he usually does. 68 minutes, got through a heap of work there. It's hard to work out your hooker rotation week to week.
Yeah, I don't.
His flavour of the month.
I thought Adam Cook was a battler. I thought he had a red hot crack.
Cookie deserved his shot.
Yeah.
He's been killing New South Wales Cup this season. We've been looking for more of an organising number 7, and yeah, we got done 16-6. The attack was a bit stunted, but again, combinations. We had a new 7 coming in. Bloke who'd been playing in our halves, who was in New South Wales Cup start the year, moved to fullback. Everything changed. Guru, you mentioned players switched edges, but Cookie earned his shot at the NRL, and 16-6. It's not a bad result down there, really.
Cool.
Dreadful, not dreadful. Obviously, great to see him make his debut, Jordan Martin, but he, like a HIA after just a few minutes, so shit. I love Ricky Stewart said after he went to Tarpanay and Papali'i during the week. He said, "Do you reckon this guy's ready to play?" And they went, "Yeah, 100%."
Yeah, good. Alrighty, onto the Storm. Look, they just keep finding a way. Man, I don't know how to judge this Storm side. They're on top of the table, clear on top of the table, and yet I'm not that convinced. It is bizarre. I don't understand it. They are 2 wins on top, 2 points. So they're 28 points, and Panthers are on 24 points. And yet I look at them and I watch them play the Raiders, who were terrible, and I go, man, this Storm should be fucking absolutely putting them away. They don't, but they just keep getting it done. They keep getting it done. They got some key players out. Good on them.
Oh, mate, you just eyeball them week in, week out, and if you had no understanding of what the ladder looked like or where they were sitting, I think you would assume they were a top 8 side, but probably bottom of the 8.
Mate,
but they just don't lose games of football.
They just don't.
They play differently every fucking week. It looks different every week. It's almost like they sort of play down to opposition sometimes.
It's bizarre. It is genuinely. They have just such a strong culture and set of standards that they are just competitors no matter what. No matter what, they are competing on every single play. I thought Hughes again had incredible moments. He is electric this year. Absolutely electric. Who stood out for you in this game?
Mate, the 30-minute stint from Nelson. Once again, we keep saying surely he'll play more minutes next week. He played 33 minutes. He ran for 176 run meters.
He had a couple of errors, but he just came on and absolutely tore them to shreds.
I thought that was Bronson Garlick's best game of his career by far and away.
Yeah.
He can obviously play on. I've always thought he's a better back rower than he is hooker, but had some really classy touches the other night.
Well, he's another guy. I'm pretty sure he was playing Q Cup, like reserve grade. I think was it Q Cup or New South Wales Cup? Got a training trial a couple of years ago, and now he's playing for the Melbourne Storm.
He was running around for like Bulldogs, Newtown, New South Wales Cup for years and years and years.
It used to be Bronson that used to reply to the emails at Garlo's. Like not that long ago.
Garlic pies, by the way.
He was the difference, really. Like, he set 2 tries up from dummy half with really, really good balls in a game that they won by 2 tries. And obviously the defence was pretty tight on both sides. He broke it open twice.
Yeah. Just another guy goes down to the Storm, becomes the best version of himself. I thought Trent Leoro in attack got through a mountain of work. Honestly, if you ever wanted to watch a game where just pure grit and determination wins you a game, and it's like things aren't going your way, the ball isn't bouncing your way, you're not really ball playing that well, that Melbourne Storm performance is that. Like, it is just like we are going to just have a crack every time we run the ball and just find a way to fall over the line, essentially. Because like 2 tries off dummy half, like that's like almost falling over the line.
I've had a quick look through the season. Their biggest loss of the year was 18-25 against the Sharks.
Amazing.
Does this not just sum them up? Their entire 17 the other night. The only players that didn't miss a tackle were the fullback and the winger. Everyone else, every single other player missed between 1 and 2 tackles.
Jeez.
It's crazy. It's just crazy. Geez, the more I see of Howarth, the more I like him. He's building nicely.
What just a bizarre case he is. Like, couldn't get a start with him. He's lucky over the last couple of years after signing that big long-term deal to jag a bench spot and play a few minutes on an Origin week when they've got players out. And then out of nowhere, and like, I'd heard that a bloke who played a bit of centres in his younger days, he'd made the move to the forwards, really destructive on an edge, that maybe it was just the defensive reads, and we'd spoken about it. They'd moved him to become more of a middle forward. And then out of nowhere, Bellage goes, nah, you're going to start centre for us and you're going to kill it there. What?
I was thinking about this whole Howard situation, because we've been talking about this now for what feels like 4 fucking years. Is there a chance when he was signed to this big deal, it was sort of a Melbourne Storm signing more than a Craig Bellamy signing? And like Craig Bellamy maybe isn't as big on him as other people, and they assume Craig Bellamy would be gone by now because he says every year's his last year coaching. Like, because I just can't make sense of it.
The only thing I can think of is they've gone, you know what, we'll take the hit now because we believe this guy will be one of the best forwards in the competition and we don't want to lose him. And it was just purely market pressure that made them sign him for the amount that they signed him for. Like, they're so sure that he is what the Storm represent over the next 10 to 15 years that they're like, we'll take the hit to keep him at the club. Does
he hold a starting spot? Remus Smith, concussion, he'll likely be back this week. Xavier's obviously out for a while, but who's their other centre?
Do we have any confirmation that Meany's injured? Or was that a form thing?
Yeah, I think, I was told it's injury.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, on the last couple of weeks, I'm keeping Jack Howarth. Like, at least for a couple of weeks, because, put it this way, I don't want to sound too harsh on Meany, but defensively he's been poor this year. They conceded 1 try.
Yeah.
Which was, So I think it's worth a crack to keep Howarth there.
And he's going to grow as well. Like, he's going to become better and better each game pretty much. He was great. Devastating about Coates. Far out. Another hamstring this year. Great try from Blore. Anyone else for you boys?
Nah, it's sort
of good, mate.
Sums it up.
Alrighty, Dragons defeat the Dolphins 26-6. What a bloody performance by the Dragons. Jeez, I cannot believe how well they're going this year. Seriously. Flano's ability, like, if you could make a cake and the end result was disaster season, they had all the recipe, all the ingredients at the start of the year for a disaster cake. Now they're eating bloody
mediocre cake.
They're eating bloody chalky cake you get from Woolies. It might be $2 still, but it gets the job done. Unbelievable. Hey, I don't want to hear if any of you friggin' try to tell me the chocolate cake from Woolies isn't a fucking godsend.
It's the goat. It's the best cake.
It's the goat. Yeah, it's a little bit cheap. Yeah, it's full of shit, but it gets the job done.
No, it's good gear. No doubting that.
That's outstanding.
Hard to back that up. Yeah, I can't really work the Dragons out. And mate, I think I messaged you guys at halftime. I go, fuck, how's the Dragons attack without Lomax? There's just no options. They come out in the second half, they absolutely blow it away. Mate, I'll tell you, I've never really taken too much notice of him, but Tui Pelotu, how thick is he?
He's a big boy.
He is enormous.
I liked him at Manly. I thought he was bloody good at Manly. I don't know why. I was surprised they got let him go.
Yeah, he's got a lot of untapped potential. I thought Sloan was really good, boys. I know Teddy obviously had to be team of the week fullback. I didn't think Sloan was too far off.
I think he's probably number
huge
2
week for fullbacks, but I thought Sloan was really solid in this game.
Jeez, hasn't he just he's not the set in the world alight, but he's just getting through his work, doing a job. Put it this way, I'm not walking away from a game thinking about Sloan. It's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas there's so many games last year where that's all you're thinking about. Like, what was he thinking there?
I can't remember watching the trials. Like, for me personally, and I'm happy to admit I was completely wrong, there just wasn't a world where Lomax didn't end up at fullback. And then when Lomax started playing this incredible football...
Didn't end up at fullback.
Yeah, I just thought Lomax had to end up there
eventually. Sorry, Lomax. Yeah, apologies.
He just had to be there eventually. Like, surely Sloan couldn't play consistent enough to keep a guy like Lomax. Lomax plays the absolute best football we have ever seen. Granted on the wing, but playing a bit of a hybrid role realistically. Every time he chimes in a fullback role, he looks unbelievable. And still, Sloan's just played well enough to keep the jersey.
Yep, just doing his job.
Yep.
Being where he needs to be. I'll tell you what, Flanagan... I keep going back to him, but his coaching credentials is just I knew he was a good coach. He won a premiership and he got that team together and essentially built it from scratch to do what they did. But there is no way when he said that basically, what did he say, top 8 this year and then next year pushing for finals, pushing deep? I was like, mate, you're at least 2 years away from that. They're playing outstanding. They really are. I'm so impressed, especially with their performance yesterday. It was clinical. It was decisive. They built pressure. They were patient. It was a bloody good performance. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Mate, Moses Sully, for me. We speak about his attack and how good that's been this year and his yardage and that sort of stuff. His defence, early on in his career, and he had every right to be, he was like a bit of a defensive liability. He had quite poor reads, just all sorts of things. His defence, his man-on-man... is incredible. So he's played 12 games this year. I've disregarded the one where he got concussed early. In 12 games, he's missed 10 tackles. At centre. He's missed 1 tackle in 5 games. He missed 2 in 1. That was back in round 4. And he missed 3 in 1 back in round 6. He's not missed a tackle in 6 of his games this year. Stats aside... some of these one-on-one matchups he gets against some of the best centers in the NRL, he just hits, sticks, and manhandles blokes.
Yeah.
I look at that
try saver on the weekend where he just dragged. Was it Tessie New out? Someone.
Yeah, it was like point blank on the line, and he just manhandled him out. And I look at the defensive edges and I go, all right, Benny Hunt on one edge with Zach Lomax, pretty solid defensively in that. That's the worst defensive edge. The side with Flano and Sully defensively has been so sound this year, and he's been brilliant.
Christ, it's stiff to give him a missed tackle when he got knocked out against the Roosters. Very tough.
Stats man hates the Dragons.
Hurts.
I did too.
That's a good point though, Timmy. He's been amazing this year, and just watching that, I know we sort of talk about it every 5 or 6 weeks, but the growth of him, I didn't think he'd ever get to where he is now.
What about Flano? Kyle Flanagan. Hasn't he just done his job, gotten better and better? I think he's gotten better as the season's gone on. Another
slice of cake.
Yeah, mate. He loves Woolies cake. It's just, seriously, I'm so impressed. And I think when you watch them play now, there's starting to be a bit of belief in this Dragons. When you see them, come together, yipping and yahooing, and just the style of footy they're playing, I think at the start of the year, even they were looking around going, I don't know whether we have the squad to do this. I feel like they're getting to the point going, I actually think they're looking at each other going, you know what, we can play finals footy this year. Absolutely we can. A 26-6 win without Lomax, a guy that a few weeks ago we were sitting there going, man, I don't know how the Dragons are going to go without Lomax. It's a bloody good win.
Not only that as well, like we have spoken about it all season. When a team loses an outside back, they do not go on to win that game of football. It happens to the Dragons in this game. They lost Fango after 28 minutes.
Yeah.
They go on to win this one 26 points to 6.
Yeah.
Like,
great
I think the stats are like 85% of teams that happens to, they do not win that game of football.
In regards to individual performances, I really like Sewer, the way he backed up and the way he played. Look, I'm not a fan of backing up, but if you're going to do it, this is how you do it. Bit of a disappointing game Wednesday night, comes out, has one of his best games of the season, if not his best game of the season for the Dragons. Just shows a real good attitude, to go back to your club and go, not only am I going to reflect and kind of bounce back from the performance on Wednesday, but I want to give back to my club. I've been missing in Origin. I thought he was outstanding.
How good was when they were talking after the game to Ben Hunt. I said, how do you feel about playing after Origin? And Ben Hunt, at 34 years of age, it was almost like he was offended he was being asked. And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. Why wouldn't I play?
Yeah.
Sort of like just the attitude he has and the mindset is crazy, Benny Hunt.
They both their edges. Fatala Mariner was fantastic as well. I think he snuck into our team of the week. And
what about that try he scored? Fuck.
Yeah, bulldozing. And so we've spoken at nauseum last year and even earlier this year. There's just no X factor in their forward pack. Who's the bloke that's going to bend the line? And all of a sudden, they've got these two strike edge back rows not out of nowhere. Like Sewer's been good for a while, but for Tyler Mariner, the back end of his doggies career, you're going, this hasn't ended well. What's his future look like? They've been fantastic.
Yeah, it's looking really good for the Dragons. Such a good base to build off. They're going to recruit. Really, really exciting times. Really, really exciting times for the... Did I say Bulldogs just then?
I think you're right.
I didn't hear Bulldogs,
No.
Okay, Dragons.
Maybe.
Great win. Great win against the Dolphins. Okay, on to the Dolphins. Really disappointing. Really disappointing. They built such... Look, don't get me wrong. I don't think they ever kind of gave up. There was a very specific period where I do feel like Isaiah Katoa is going to learn a lot from this. So he started the game off really well with his kicking. But then I think in the second half, if I recall correctly, or maybe late in the first, he puts a poor kick in. It goes out on the full. It's a 7-tackle set. Now, granted, he had the massive win behind him. Since that kick, the Dragons had the ball and it had been like 5 minutes. They then went on to score. And since that point in the game, the Dragons never looked back. They just went on to completely dominate. Before that kick, I think it was pretty much even. It was close anyway. And then after that kick, pretty much, they just went into overdrive, the Dragons. And a really big lesson for Katoa that, in NRL, just these moments, granted, every halfback they're going to kick a 7-tackle set every now and then. But that's how brutal the NRL can be. One little mistake, they get momentum, they hold on to the ball for the next 5 to 10 minutes, all of a sudden the game is gone. Big lesson to learn for Katoa.
Mate, these 7-tackle sets, it is like entering quicksand. It can just turn an entire game. I was talking with the Hello Sport boys the other day when we were looking at odds for State of Origin and to win by 13. And winning by 13, the odds are huge now. And it's because these teams, a lot of them aren't willing to take field goals because they know that if you miss, it's a 7-tackle set. And you can lose a game, you're up by 12 in a few minutes because it can just turn the entire game. And it's a lesson you'll have to learn. Really interesting for the Dolphins this run home. Talking to NRL physio last night, it sounds like Jeremy Marshall-King, he's in some trouble apparently. So without him, you got to remember as well, his replacement, Kurt Donohoe, he got Sin Min. He's in for a long suspension as well. So all of a sudden, you're probably looking at a Max Plath hooker, and we know how important JMK is to this side. It's going to really test them.
What do you think of the Dolphins, mate?
Yeah, I don't want to make excuses for him because you need to be able to cover an injury. But as Guru said, the Marshall King injury just shows the impact that he has on this team. So they went into halftime 6-2 up when he went off injured after 22 minutes, scores a 0-0. And from there, from the second half, it just blew out. And look, defensively, he's not going to make a 26-point difference or a 24-point difference, whatever it was. But just in attack, he's so key to them. And his running game and his running threat in and around the ruck, it's quite relentless at times, especially when they're rolling forward through the middle. You just got to tie and you've got to be on him, but they just, especially with that hammer there as well, their attack the second half just looked a bit one-dimensional and they just fell to bits.
It's interesting with the Dolphins, when you have a look over their last few weeks. I mean, they had that game against the Sharkies a few weeks ago where Hines had the opportunity to equal that game up from the sideline. Like, if they would have lost that game, which they came very close to, they'd be looking down the barrel of 5 in a row now.
Yeah, wow. Far out. So it has been quite a dip for the Dolphins, but they're still fighting. They're still fighting. And also the game against the Storm, like, they were so close.
Well, I was just about to say, of those 5 games, they lost to the Warriors by 4, Raiders by 1, Sharks by 2, Melbourne by 6. And then this is the first time they've really been blown out going into a bye after this now. So, but then they go South Sydney and Penrith coming out of that.
So hopefully that bye can rejuvenate them. Anyone else for the Dolphins, boys?
No. And I was just going to say before we moved on, Kempy, I mentioned Ben Hunt there. If he plays to the end of this season, he goes into the top 10 most games ever played in the NRL. And he's only 25 games off being in the top 5 most games ever played.
So he'll probably get that.
Should get that, yeah.
Alrighty. Now, it's a mega motorsport weekend on KO with every lap of the F1, Supercars and MotoGP, live and ad break free during racing, Townsville 500, Supercars, British F1 GP, and German MotoGP. There's plenty of room for everyone, so get on board with KO. Now also available on Hubble. Cowboys defeat the Panthers 16-6. I mean, look, was it the most entertaining game? Yeah, maybe not, but geez, what an important win for the Cowboys. Just when you know, they're actually like the games where you go, okay, the Panthers play the opposite style of footy the Cowboys, like defending really well, high completion rate. Then they go out and win. The Cowboys, a few weeks ago, we're thinking like panic stations, dire situation. They now sit 7th, and only them and the Roosters have played 16 games in the top 8.
Todd Payton must just stare at his ceiling at night and just go, what the fuck is happening? I've got the most Origin players of just about any team. I put them in, my team goes like a busted, I take him out and I can beat anyone.
It's fucking mental.
Like literally, like he's now beaten Penrith and the Roosters with his reserve grade side. Puts them back in and they look bang average again. They are such a frustrating football team to watch. And you're right, mate. Like, they're in 7th place at the moment and they've only had the 1 bye. They've got 2 to come still. They are a bizarre football team.
Essentially they should be on equal points with the Roosters, but the Roosters have 1 hand game in as well. So they pretty much should be 5th right now if you gave them that bye.
They just went to Penrith and had 2 players sin-binned and won.
And played with the grit Penrith play with. Like, they were so gritty. They kept turning up for each other. They did not stop moving.
They're 5 from their last 6. So they're in form.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And also they've been winning
wise.
games. Even though when you watch them, you go, it was an incredible performance by the Cowboys. It was so good.
And like one of those players, sin-bin, was Scott Drinkwater.
Mate, it's an amazing win on the road at Penrith. Amazing.
You asked me at the top of the show whether I think the Dogs will make the 8 gun to head, and I'm sitting there looking at the ladder just going, Cowboys. I'm trying to work out whether they stay in or drop out. I'm like, I have no idea what this team is going to throw up each week. There are weeks where they're just lackluster and I go, are their pack aging? Are they too big through the middle? Like, what's going on? And then they have performances like the weekend where even all right, Penrith had all their Origin stars minus Isaiah Yeo out as well. That's never been an issue for Penrith the last 3-4 years. They get to these Origin weeks and, you know, they've lost games as they will, but they still put up a fight and they still win a lot of games around the Origin period. Especially against a team who also rested 5 players from Origin. But the Cowboys were terrific in this.
Mate, the Cowboys, you have a look at their run home. They don't leave North Queensland until the 1st of August.
6 of 8, I think.
It's unbelievable. And then in the last week, they play the Canterbury Bulldogs down in Sydney. Outside of that, they are playing every single game in North Queensland. They've got some tough games up there, Broncos, Sharkies, Melbourne. But they're up in North Queensland the entire time. They're 7th now. Fuck, if I'm Todd Payton, all of a sudden I'm going, why can't we be a top 4 side?
Well, they're 2 wins outside of it, and they got a bye, so they're really just 1 win outside the top 4. It's actually insane. So incredible performance from the Cowboys. Let's get into our performances. Who stood out for you, mate?
Mate, Sam McIntyre, he made our team of the week. They signed him from the Titans last year. And, you know, he's tough, and, you know, just being tough in the NRL can take you a long way, but... You know, they were down to 12 at one point. He had one moment where he was playing left fucking centre of all places and he had to ice it and he nailed it.
Yeah.
Delivered the pass. I think he has been such a good sign. I think he's been such an important part of this side too. Mate, I like Kyle Felt was good. Braden Burns was good.
What about Braden Burns? How the hell he's not in the top squad before this year is actually insane. I know he's had injuries and that, but far out.
I don't know. I'd be considering playing him at right centre personally when they're full strength. I think Valia's doing well, but mate, the amount of work Burns does, and I think he's playing great footy at the moment.
Yeah. I just cannot believe this bloke didn't have a contract. He was working at Rabbitohs and had to get signed later in because they got injuries and that.
It's pretty much a teacher's aide.
Just insane.
Yeah, we get a lot wrong in this potty, but we nailed that one. Even when he was doing that, we're like, Bunnies, pick him. He's so good. Well, I don't think he was in the top 30 at the Bunnies.
No, he wasn't top 30.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You boys spoke a bit more about him than I did at the start, but Kyle Felt, he just, I'd say wound the clock back, but he's been pretty consistent all season. And as you said, we know he can attack, we know he can finish. Staple of his game at the other end of the field. Not only did, like Guru said, his yardage and that's gotten better this year, but some of his defensive plays. Like even when the game was on a wire, I think they just had Scotty Drinkwater go to the bin. The read he came up with for the intercept, ran away and just turned momentum. They scored in that set when they had Drinky in the bin. That was a defining moment of this game, I think. And just a few tackles he made. Really good defending.
Yeah.
These are his run meters over the last 10 years. 108, 126, this is average per year. 108, 126, 129, 138, 142, 132, 143. In the last 2 years, it's just jumped up to 165.
He's almost a reflection of how much the wingers have changed. They need to make 150-plus metres a game, otherwise they're considered not doing their job.
Yeah. I think it's also a really good example of competition for spots. He scored that try. He was the hero. It was his spot forever. All of a sudden, the kid comes up from Canberra, kills it. His competition for spots. This isn't your jersey locked in, and he's just doing extra work. He's having a great season.
The 18-year-old Jackson Purgey.
Yeah, he's good.
Isn't he talented?
Yeah.
Playing so far out of position. It's wild.
What is he normally?
Halfback, 5'8", fullback. They're chucking him at centre.
Yeah, so good, so exciting for the Cowboys. That if he's playing that well out of position.
One of your favourites, Kempy, like if he's playing at the Roosters or the Broncos or something, he's on the back page of every paper. Just tucked away up there up in North Queensland, not spoiled. He's 18 years old, starting at centre in the NRL and killing it.
And the guy who's replacing Zach Labour was absolutely braining it at the start of the season.
Yeah. Another guy I thought played really well, not crazy stats with it, but I thought Clifford was great. I thought he did his job. I thought his try-saving tackle, I forgot who was on. Great try-saving tackle where he held up the player over the line. Really, really good win for the Cowboys. The positive is they're within striking distance now. If they can find their way into that top four, who knows what this squad can do.
So I had to laugh at one point during this game when Brad Schneider went through a very soft try and how filthy the Cowboys were at each other. I just sat there and went, you blokes normally do this 6 times a week. I can't believe it's great that this is phasing you, but there's games that they concede some of the softest tries in the world, and it's like they're not even having a conversation behind the stick sometimes.
Tell you what, it shows how good their depth is.
Yeah, get the Debbie Downer on what was a great performance. Drinky's defence. There's a couple. There was that one from Schneider where he just I don't even know what Drinky was doing. He just basically patted him on the back and ushered him through.
Yeah, that's the one downfall of his game.
On it.
Yeah, he did work on it for a period there. It's just lapsed again. I think.
He's a small body. He's going to let him in. He's not going to be as solid in defences like Dylan Edwards is or Gutho at the back. I know they're not massive, but it's quite poor at times.
Yeah, it's the one thing holding him back. To be honest.
Yeah.
The Panthers. Look, of course they're going to have these losses. It's all part of it. I will say, Tungo Taruva. They just have not been anywhere near what they were, even at the start of the season. And I just have to wonder, I think they obviously miss Critter, that locker room guy. I know he would have been playing Origin, but, that locker room guy. And B, I just wonder if the May off-field staff, because they're so tight-knit, this group, is affecting them because they have not been anywhere near how good we know they are.
I will say this about Taruva this week. I believe he was touch and go to play. He'd been crook all week, but your point still stands. He's been off for pretty much, it feels like a few months now. Isaac Tungo, mate, I would have to assume that this May situation has to be playing a role. Because he is a shell of what he's been over the last 2 years.
Yeah, not this. I mean, he's still, making his tackles and he's getting through
He's
his
not
work.
making his tackles, though. His defence has been quite poor by his standards.
Well, he's 19 tackles, 0 misses on the weekend. I know defensively he made some bad reads or whatever, so they didn't count. But what I'm saying is he's still 145 metres, 13 runs. He's still getting through his work.
Yeah.
But he's nowhere near the standard that he was even at the start of the year.
And, you're starting to see guys like Jesse McLean, Casey McLean, these guys start to get their opportunity at first grade. Even Paul Alamonte, and it hasn't seemed to have sent a rocket up him. He hasn't.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. It just doesn't look...
And look, I'm sure once Nath returns, which could be as early as this week, reportedly, I'd like to think Isaac Tunga will come to life then, but it has been alarming how it's played out.
I'm blowing a gasket if Ivan brings Nathan back this week. After the amount of times he's come back early in recent years and twinged his hammy, if they've got a bye in round 19...
Just give it to him.
Give him the extra 2 weeks off and get him right.
Yeah.
Because if he comes back and he stays fit, they're still probably red hot favourites to win a comp. If he comes back early and does that hammy again, he's gone for 6-7 weeks. It just changes everything.
Yeah.
Out of pure fear of Tim, he might not now, Ivan.
If he's smart, well, I think I was upset at Ivan when he didn't rest players after Origin won. So he heard that, and he acted and he rested him this week, so he's listening.
Give him a Williams 1-2.
Surely he doesn't bring him back. I mean, you never know.
We've said it
before,
times.
though.
Yeah,
He's a
Numerous
competitive little
times.
bugger. They lost last weekend. Grand final replay this week.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Who played well for you boys from the Panthers? I thought Fisher Harris was phenomenal.
He was great, Fisher Harris. He had a really good game. I thought that Liam Henry, again, mate, he gets through a lot of work. 49 tackles, 0 miss, Liam Henry.
He's a beast.
There's a bit of hop good about him. He can just massive work rate, nice little offload on him. Sorry, I didn't mean to upset you there, mate.
No, that's right. Yeah. Got me excited. No, he's a good player, though, Liam Henry. I don't think edge is where his career will play out. I think he'll be a middle forward.
I think he's a middle.
He's making a very good fist of it out there.
Who stood out for you, Timmy?
At the Panthers, look, he didn't have his best game, but I just see such a footballer in Dane Laurie. He just has moments of class, and he's got such a good running game where...
He's such a motor, too.
He does. He just goes and goes. I know his sort of career's been staggered to this point, a few highs and lows, but I still think he's got a big future in our game. And I think he's one, whether it's at fullback or even at 5'8". I know back end of last year when he got a crack at the Tigers at 5'8" in an ordinary team, he was killing it. I think he's going to make a fist of it. I just think it's a bit of a slow burn at the moment.
The other one, mate, making his first grade debut was Casey McLean. We've been talking about him for a little while. And, mate, when we did at the start of the year, talking about our top CBAs, I didn't see I thought Casey might get a game or two in New South Wales Cup this year. He skipped Jersey Flegg and went straight to New South Wales Cup. He played the under-19s game the other day. That was his first game in that age group, and he's younger than them.
Wow.
Just because he completely skipped it. For him to be in first grade now, I'm not sure if you noticed, but there was the Scott Drinkwater made a break at one point, and Casey rounded him up within about 50 metres, came from the sideline. Mate, he's strong and he is rapid. I
thought Patea as well. Patea, did he say it?
Yeah, I haven't actually seen him before.
I thought he showed a bit of...
He was good, yeah. But this Casey, I know a couple of years ago they let go of Matt Burton and they let go of a couple of very good centres because they were confident in their juniors. I think Casey's the reason why.
Yeah, wow.
They're happy to let May walk.
Yeah, he's rapid, that's for sure. Yeah, Luran Patea, I thought he showed for a young fella, super aggressive, great in contact. Look, definitely not like panic stations or whatever because they're missing their key players, but it was an uncharacteristic game from them. I did watch that game going, I've seen the Panthers lose games before and been like, still the Panthers, completed a high rate, just didn't work out for them. This was an uncharacteristic, a lot of errors, bad reads in defence, very uncharacteristic. So hopefully they don't back it up.
Matty made a really good point off camera before in our break. The Panthers, they're not playing great footy at the moment. They're in second. Once Nath gets back and they get the crew back, we know what we're going to get. Biggest advantage to the Panthers is who's the next best team?
Yeah.
Melbourne, they don't even look that fucking good.
Yeah. Mate, when he gets back, holy. Alrighty. Roosters defeat the Tigers 40-6. An absolute shellacking. The Roosters, they're looking red hot in my opinion. They are looking like a premiership threat. Lock them in. When they get to finals footy, I think that Teddy missing out on Origin is actually the best thing that could have happened to them in regards to selfishly as a club, because he's fired up, he's ready to go, he's rested. The Roosters for me, like, put it this way, I would just have them as more favourites to win the comp right now than Melbourne Storm, even though Melbourne Storm are top of the table.
Their attack's better and their defence is better on numbers. It's pretty incredible. Like, look at the Melbourne Storm. They've got the second best attack in the competition. They've scored 400 points. Roosters have scored 480. An 80-point gap between first and second.
It's 30 points a game, Roosters, that they're
30
scoring.
points a game.
Conceding 17.8.
Yeah, I'd fear
Crazy.
the Roosters week one of finals more than I would Melbourne at the moment. It's not even a knock on the Storm.
Not a knock at all.
It's just the Roosters they're relentless.
They're scary.
Yeah.
Like, because you look at them and when they click, they just go. And you just can't go with them. You just can't go with them. Like, the Tigers were brave. They were really brave yesterday, especially, the opening whatever minutes. I got it up here. Yeah, so the first 5 minutes, the Tigers actually had, even 10 minutes, they had really really good field position. So they'd done so well, but their end of set decisions, execution was terrible. And it essentially cost them the game. Look, they probably would have lost anyway, but they gave themselves no chance after that.
There was one relatively early on when I think Galvin and Caesar both touched it around 4th tackle, and they just laid it off to Seyfarth, or I can't remember who it was, just for a forward hit up on 5th tackle, and you're just going, what just happened?
Yeah.
It wasn't even people caught out, the halves caught out of position or playing the ball. It was like they just
lost count or something.
Yeah.
And that was inside their own half, was it not? Was
that was
one?
attacking the Roosters line.
Oh, well, there was one where they turned the ball over by running on last, and they hadn't even passed halfway
That was
yet.
real early, wasn't it?
That was early as well, yeah.
There was a few moments like that. And even when Appy went off, that 10 minutes was an absolute dog's breakfast. They just, I think they didn't have a dummy half on a few occasions there, and Aiden Caesar had to go in there. And Aiden Caesar, very experienced player, him at dummy half, he was just looking around every time, going, "What are we doing?"
Yeah.
Appy not charged, by the way. Just throw that one out there.
That 10 in the bin is just maybe the NRL has sent a message out to the players and basically said, any lifting, you're going in the bin. But where has this come from? All of a sudden, any lifting, you're in the bin. I don't understand.
If there wasn't last week's one or the week before, the two of us Shek one that was a million times worse, you'd blow up about it. I'm like, well, still not as bad as Rogers, but it was so bad.
Surely there is a directive from the NRL saying if you lift it all, you're going to the bin.
Well, the quote they're saying, in a few of these sin bins is, was at risk of injury. Is that it? I think that's what they say. Was at risk of injury because of the position you put him in. And every time you run the ball, you're at risk of injury.
There's a risk of injury. The game's built on risk of injury.
Yeah.
I don't look. As I said, if this is make it clear so the players know. And as I said, if they have been given a directive, then fair enough. Then Appy's the only one to blame. But if they haven't, let the players know. So they'll go, you know what? I can't lift. I'm not going to lift. I don't understand. It's like a secret. All of a sudden, any lifting is 10 in the bin. Just out of nowhere. Anyway, here's what it is. We'll speak about the Roosters. Who stood out for you with the Roosters, mate?
Throw a dart at a team list.
Yeah.
Teddy was
94% completion in the first 35 minutes or so.
In the wet.
They were relentless. Teddy was fantastic. Mate, I found it, me and Tim were texting about it during the game, and maybe the Joey Manu injury changed things, but I can't believe Angus Crichton played 80 minutes the other night. Connor Watson I can understand because you had injuries, you had to shift him out, but getting Angus to play 80 minutes after backing up from Origin when you're dusting the Tigers, it was 20-0 after not long, I couldn't really make sense of that.
Yeah. It is a bit strange,
I think it's absurd, to be honest with you. He got through so much work in an 80-minute performance in Origin 5 days ago, which, I get it. And with the depth the Roosters have in their pack, I don't think you need to play him in the first place, but I get it. Okay, you want to win games of footy. He's a key member. But, what really did me was just when they got out to, a 28-0 lead or whatever it was pretty early on, and he just kept him out there and played 80. I'm like, give him a spell.
Surely White could have done more than 24 minutes, right?
Yeah, what are you achieving?
He must have some kind of specific yearly plan he's working on. And I don't know, Crichton will
But
get
like,
some break.
even like we said at the start of the year, the Roosters had historically started the season slow, and they look to have changed that this year with a few different tactics, and they came out of the box a lot quicker. That means at some point your players are probably going to need a bit of a lull period while you're playing Origin as well, and a lot of your team is playing Origin. Oh, you're playing with fire a little bit.
Did JWH have an injury? Like he only played 23 minutes his first stint, didn't come back on. Was it like I wonder if maybe he had an injury and maybe that was the second.
Maybe like they're obviously they're
Has to be a reason.
like you'd imagine if Joey Manu didn't go off, surely there was a plan to give him a rest. I thought they would have found one anyway. Like even with all these middle forwards there, and you say wide or whatever, if they're looking for an out-and-out edge, you can't tell me you couldn't have put Terrell May or White on an edge for the last 20 minutes or something. When
Nat
you're up
Butcher,
by
he was
40.
picked before him at the start of the year
Butcher,
anyway.
there you go. Yeah. I don't. Weird. I mean, credit to Crichton, he's a beast, but
I thought Cheese was really good, mate.
Yeah, he is great. I tell you what, this wing combination of Tupou Young, it's like scary. The damage they do is just like, how do you stop that? When they just go boom, boom, 1-2 after each other. Like, how do you stop that as a defence?
Yep, and both of them had non-centers inside them for the majority of those games. Just, yeah, it's crazy.
Insane.
What
Absolutely.
about that touch that Teddy had for Toops' first try?
oh,
So good. So good. Geez, I respect Teddy's ability just to, everything going on, getting dropped from New South, he just comes out, rips and tears. Doesn't sook, doesn't kick kick rocks or anything like that. Just gets out there, rips and tears.
the best.
Yeah. So good.
Wouldn't it be like if he was to, like if the Roosters were to go on and win a comp this year, like after everything Teddy's been through, for him to captain the Roosters to a premiership and the Panthers, like imagine if it was against the Panthers, like it just, there's a big storyline there.
Oh, absolutely.
I might have an answer for you for how Hargraves. I'm just guessing here. So he wasn't HIA, he wasn't injured, but next week at Allianz, he breaks the record for most ever games for the Roosters. So maybe they want to play him more minutes next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to make sure he gets to that game too, probably.
Because the game was over after friggin'.
Yeah, fair.
Victor Radley, I've been so happy with him the last. He's just been going about his work, kind of lost in the noise with all these other players killing it. I think he's been great.
Yeah, well, he's in a team full of stars, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's just like it's hard to stand out in that squad.
Anyone else, boys?
I was very happy as a New South Wales Blues fan to see our bench utility, Connor Watson, spend 60 minutes at centre. It was great. A few reps under the belt.
How good is he this year? Seriously, what a great story. What a great story. In regards to the Tigers, as I said, they tried really hard, but a mixture of some poor decision making, all that kind of stuff, and some errors. But also, like, the rosters are just seriously like lifetimes apart. Some questions that I have though. I got to say, I'm a huge fan of him, and I really want him to keep pushing on. But Dream Buller, he just has not kicked on. And I know it's second year syndrome, all that kind of stuff. But I would have felt that he kind of developed a little bit. But it's getting to the stage where for most of the year, there's been no pressure on his spot. I reckon there might have to be a bit of pressure on his spot because he's just not. He tries, he gets through a fair bit of work, 17 runs, 131 metres, but I don't know, there's just something that doesn't seem to be clicking for him this year.
I forget he's in game sometimes. Like when you watch the West Tigers, and if you hadn't, watched them last year, like to tell someone that they've got a potential superstar at fullback, like you just wouldn't believe it at the moment. Just not seeing it.
Can't really put my finger on why either. I'm like he's still the same run meters as last year. He was just electric last season, and like the attacking stats aren't too different to last season, but it just seems worlds apart, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't really know why.
Maybe we expect too much, I don't know, but he just hasn't kicked on the way I thought he would.
Our expectations are only set by his performances last year, though. Like he wasn't a guy that blew up in junior footy and stuff. Like he didn't come with high expectations from there. He played at a very, very high click last year, and he just hasn't been able to get back there. I thought Galvin, fuck, he's a goer.
I love it.
He just doesn't stop, does he?
He fended off Angus Crichton at one point, one-on-one. He's such a goer. Like in this game, in the wet, your team's getting pumped. You've been peppered in defence all game. He just kept coming all games.
Yeah.
Like, speaking of something special, he stood out in a game where they got absolutely pounded off the park.
There was a tackle. He took a run at one point, and Angus got a pretty good shot on him. Was on top of him, marker, and Angus sprayed him for like 5 or 6 seconds. You could just see Galvin just standing up, going, "Fuck me, just leave me alone." For the love of God.
Doing my best.
And you just see him stand up, and Angus is still chirping at him. He just runs back, gets 2 more touches in that set. I love him.
And you just know the Roosters were targeting him, like trying to get in his head.
He missed one tackle. He had Angus Crichton going at him in a 40-6 scoreline and missed one tackle. Seriously,
like he's just a goer. You can build clubs around this bloke. I'm so glad he's locked in. He's good to go because he is special. He's special. To go against a team that intimidates even the best of teams, you're at the bottom of the table essentially, and you're a rookie in your first year at 18 years old, and you don't take a backward steps. That's like made of the right stuff. Yeah. That's made of the right stuff. Anything else with the Tigers, boys?
I know you can't be up every single week, but I've been really impressed with him this year. I thought he was pretty quiet in this game. Samuel Fino.
Yep.
They've got a tough stretch of games coming up. The West Tigers. Obviously, this one won't help them in any way, shape, or form. But he's been a really key cog for the last few weeks, and I feel like he maybe lost a little bit of confidence during this game. So I'm hoping he bounces back for them.
This you blokes should do it better than I will. How do you pronounce the winger's name? Lower Lily.
Lily.
He's got something about him. He's a little pocket rocket. He's got a bit of Brian Tyle about him.
Yeah.
Backs himself, runs hard. So I've only seen the 2 games, but he looks good.
Yeah. His brother's good too. He's a forward too. Yeah.
Alrighty, let's get into some tips brought to you by Sportsbet. Okay, Eels versus South. Eels $1.95, South $1.98. The line's so short though, so give us a 1 to 12 or a 13 plus. I'm gonna go South 1 to 12.
I'm gonna go Bunnies 13 plus.
Ooh. I'll go Bunnies 1 to 12.
I'll go South 1 to 12.
Sharks Titans. Sharks $1.39. Titans 304. The Sharks. The line is 7.5. I'm gonna go Sharks and Sharks to cover.
Yeah, Sharks.
Sharks.
Broncos v Panthers. Broncos 230. Panthers $1.63. The line is 2.5. I'm just gonna go Broncos.
Panthers.
Where are we at? Suncorp. Everyone back except Walsh, basically. Sorry, everyone except Reynolds.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, God. I'll go Broncos upset.
I'm going Broncos too.
Bulldogs, Warriors. Bulldogs $1.49. Warriors $2.63. Bulldogs is a 5.5. The line is 5.5. Gonna go Dogs.
I'm going to Dogs, Warriors with the start.
I'm going to go Dogs.
I'm going to go Dogs, Warriors.
Okay, Tigers v Storm. Tigers 420. Storm $1.23. The line is 12.5 start. 13.5 start for the Tigers. I'm going to go Storm.
Surely Storm, right?
Storm.
It's at Leichhardt, Saturday Arvo. I'm going to go Storm, but Tigers with a start.
Alrighty, Cowboys $1.79. Manly $2.07. The line is too short, so give us a 1 to 12 or 13 plus. I'm going to go Manly 1 to 12.
Turbo's back, right, at centre, allegedly?
Yeah.
Cows 1 to 12.
Cows 1 to 12.
I'll go Cows 13 plus.
Roosters versus Dragons. Roosters $1.22. Dragons $4.30. The line is 13.5. I'm going to go Roosters Dragons.
13's a lot, isn't it?
And they surely they get back from last time.
Get Lomax back in. Yeah, I'll go Roosters Dragons to the start.
Roosters.
Roosters.
Okay, Raiders versus the Knights. Raiders $1.94. Knights $1.90. Line is too short. Give us a 1 to 12. I am going to go Knights 1 to 12.
Knights 1 to 12.
Knights 1 to 12.
Nice 1 to 12.
Alrighty, that's us done and dusted. And as usual, we'll go and fuck ourselves. Thank you.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.